A person can survive failure, rejection, heartbreak, and loneliness, but many people do not survive the way they speak to themselves after those things happen. They fall once and call themselves weak. They lose something and call themselves unlucky. They make one mistake and turn it into proof that they are not worthy. But Buddhism teaches something powerful. Pain is not always what destroys you. Sometimes, what destroys you is the story you keep repeating after the pain. Your mind believes the story you tell it. If you keep saying, "I am broken," your mind starts living like healing is impossible. If you keep saying, "I am not enough," your mind stops looking for your strength. If you keep saying, "Nothing will change," your mind quietly closes the door before life even opens it. So today we are not just changing thoughts. We are changing the voice that has been shaping your life in silence. 1. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for healing. Many people are kind to others, but very harsh with themselves. They can comfort a friend, forgive someone else's mistake, and give hope to a person who is suffering. But when they make one small mistake, they start attacking themselves inside. They say things like, "I am stupid, I always ruin everything, I will never change," or "What is wrong with me?" These words may seem small, but they hurt the heart deeply when you repeat them again and again. Buddhism teaches compassion, and compassion is not only for other people, it is also for you. You are also a human being. You also feel pain. You also get tired. You also make mistakes. You also need patience while you are learning, healing, and becoming better. So think of yourself as someone you are responsible for healing. If a child made a mistake and came to you crying, would you call them useless? If a friend failed at something, would you tell them their life is over? If someone you loved was struggling, would you insult them more? Of course not. You would speak gently. You would guide them. You would remind them that one mistake does not define their whole life. 2. Do not believe every thought that appears. One of the most important Buddhist lessons is this: you are not every thought that enters your mind. A thought can appear, but that does not mean it is true. A fear can appear, but that does not mean something bad will happen. A painful memory can come back, but that does not mean your whole life is still controlled by the past. Many people suffer because they believe every negative thought immediately. When the mind says, "You are not good enough," they accept it. When the mind says, "You will fail," they stop trying. When the mind says, "Nothing will change," they lose hope before they even take one step. But Buddhism teaches us to observe the mind. This means you do not have to fight every thought, and you do not have to follow every thought. You can simply notice it and say, "This is only a thought. This is not the whole truth." When your mind says, "I am a failure," pause and ask yourself, "Is this really true, or am I just feeling hurt right now?" When your mind says, "I can never change," ask, "Is this wisdom, or is this fear speaking?" Most negative thoughts are not facts. They are often old pain, fear, stress, or tiredness speaking inside you. If you believe them too quickly, they become stronger. But if you observe them calmly, they slowly lose power. So do not let every thought become your master. Let thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky watching it pass. 3. Your words become seeds in the mind. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a field. Whatever you plant inside it will slowly grow. If you keep planting fear, fear becomes stronger. If you keep planting anger, anger becomes stronger. If you keep planting self-hatred, self-hatred becomes stronger. But if you plant patience, kindness, courage, and peace, those things also begin to grow inside you. This is why the words you say to yourself matter so much. Every time you say, "I am useless," you are planting a painful seed. Every time you say, "I always fail," you are teaching your mind to expect failure. Every time you say, "Nothing good will happen for me," you are closing the door of hope inside yourself. Your mind listens to repetition. It does not always know the difference between truth and the words you repeat every day. If you keep speaking negatively to yourself, your mind slowly starts to believe those words. Then those words become feelings, and those feelings begin to affect your actions. But you can change what you plant. Instead of saying, "I am not good enough," say, "I am learning and improving." Instead of saying, I always fail, say, every mistake is teaching me something. Instead of saying, I cannot handle this, say, I can breathe, stay calm, and take one step. At first, these better words may feel strange, but with time they become familiar. Just like negative words created pain, kind words can create healing. So be careful with the seeds you plant in your own mind, because one day you will live inside what you have grown. 4. Repetition turns thoughts into beliefs. Your mind does not always believe something because it is true. Many times, your mind believes something because it has heard it again and again. This is why repeated thoughts are so powerful. A thought may enter your mind once and disappear, but when the same thought comes every day, it slowly becomes part of the way you see yourself. If you keep telling yourself, I am not good enough, your mind begins to accept it. If you keep saying, I always fail, your mind starts expecting failure before you even try. If you keep repeating, nothing will change, your mind stops looking for hope. Slowly, these words become more than thoughts. They become beliefs. Buddhism teaches that the mind is shaped by habit. What you repeat often becomes familiar, and what becomes familiar begins to feel true, even when it is not true. This is why some people feel trapped in negative thinking. They have repeated the same painful words for so long that their mind now treats those words like reality. But the beautiful truth is this: if your mind can learn negative beliefs, it can also learn peaceful beliefs. If your mind can become used to self-criticism, it can also become used to self-kindness. If your mind has been trained to expect failure, it can also be trained to believe in patience, growth, and new beginnings. At first, kind words may feel strange. When you say, I am learning, your mind may still say, no, you are failing. When you say, I can begin again, your mind may still bring back memories of the past. This does not mean the new words are false. It only means the old pattern is strong, so do not give up too quickly. Healing the mind takes repetition. Just like negative words became strong because you repeated them, positive and peaceful words also need to be repeated. You must speak to yourself with patience again and again until your mind slowly begins to trust the new voice. Instead of repeating, I am weak, say, I am becoming stronger. Instead of saying, I always ruin everything, say, I can learn from this and do better. Instead of saying, I am behind in life, say, I am walking my own path at my own pace. These words may not change everything in one day, but they change the direction of your mind. And when the direction of your mind changes, the direction of your life also begins to change. So be careful with what you repeat inside yourself. Your repeated thoughts become your beliefs. Your beliefs become your actions, and your actions slowly become your life. If you want a peaceful life, start by repeating peaceful words. 5. The mind follows the story you tell it. Every person lives with a story inside their mind. This story is not always spoken out loud, but it quietly controls the way you see yourself, your life, your future, and even the people around you. Some people tell themselves, I am always unlucky. Some people tell themselves, nothing good ever happens to me. Some people tell themselves, I am not lovable. Some people tell themselves, I am too damaged to be happy. And because they repeat this story again and again, their mind begins to believe it. The danger is that your mind starts looking for proof of the story you keep telling it. If you keep telling yourself that life is against you, your mind will notice every problem and ignore every blessing. If you keep telling yourself that nobody cares about you, your mind will focus on every person who left and forget the people who stayed. If you keep telling yourself that you always fail, your mind will remember every mistake and forget every time you survived, learned, and grew. This is how negative self-talk becomes a prison. It does not only hurt you in the moment, it changes the way you understand your whole life. Buddhism teaches that the self is not fixed. You are not trapped forever in one version of yourself. You are not only your past, you are not only your mistakes, you are not only your pain, you are not only what happened to you. Life is always changing, and you are also changing with it. But when you keep repeating the same painful story, you stop seeing that change is possible. You may have failed before, but that does not mean you are a failure. You may have been hurt before, But that does not mean your whole life must be painful. You may have lost something important, but that does not mean nothing good can ever come again. One chapter of your life is not the whole book. This is why you must be careful with the story you tell your mind. Instead of saying, "I am broken," say, "I am healing." Instead of saying, "I lost everything," say, "I am learning what truly matters." Instead of saying, "I am behind in life," say, "I am walking my path at my own pace." Instead of saying, "I am weak," say, "I have survived many things and I am still here." These words are not fake. They are not pretending that life is easy. They are simply choosing a wiser story. A story that does not deny your pain, but also does not let your pain become your identity. Your mind needs a story that gives it courage. It needs a story that helps you stand again. It needs a story that reminds you that you are still capable of peace, growth, and change. So do not keep telling yourself a story that destroys your hope. Do not keep repeating a story that makes you feel small. Do not keep carrying an old identity that no longer helps you grow. Tell your mind a better story. Tell it, "I am still learning." Tell it, "I can begin again." Tell it, "My past shaped me, but it does not own me." Tell it, "I am allowed to grow into someone new." Because the story you repeat becomes the world you live in. 6. Silence the inner enemy. With awareness, sometimes the harshest enemy is not outside you. Sometimes it is the voice inside your own mind. It is the voice that speaks when you make a mistake. It is the voice that appears when you try something new. It is the voice that tells you, "You are not good enough. You will fail again. Nobody cares about you. Or you can never become better." This inner voice can feel very powerful because it sounds like your own mind. But Buddhism teaches us something very important. Not every voice inside you is wisdom. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every feeling is telling you the truth. Some thoughts are only old wounds speaking. Some thoughts are only fear trying to protect you. Some thoughts are only memories repeating themselves because they have not yet healed. The inner enemy is not born in one day. It is often created slowly. Maybe someone criticized you again and again until you started criticizing yourself. Maybe someone made you feel small until you started shrinking yourself before anyone else could reject you. Maybe you failed at something painful, and after that failure, your mind started saying, "Do not try and you will only get hurt." Maybe you were compared to others so many times that now you compare yourself without even noticing it. Over time, the voices from outside can become voices inside. A person may insult you once, but your mind can repeat that insult for years. A failure may happen once, but your mind can replay it again and again until it feels like your identity. A painful moment may last only a short time, but if you keep carrying it in your thoughts, it can control your whole life. This is why awareness is so important. Awareness means you begin to notice what is happening inside your mind, instead of automatically believing it. Awareness means you pause and look at your thoughts clearly. You do not fight them with anger. You do not run away from them with fear. You simply observe them and ask, "What is this thought? Where is it coming from? Is it helping me or is it hurting me?" In Buddhism, awareness is like light. When a room is dark, you may be afraid because you cannot see what is there. But when you turn on the light, you begin to see clearly. In the same way, when your mind is filled with unconscious negative thoughts, you may feel trapped. But when awareness enters, you begin to see the pattern. You begin to realize, this is not my true self. This is only an old habit. You begin to realize this is not wisdom. This is fear. You begin to realize this is not the truth. This is pain speaking. This is the beginning of freedom. The inner enemy becomes strong when it stays hidden. When you do not notice it, it controls you quietly. It decides how you see yourself. It decides what chances you take. It decides how much love you accept. It decides how much peace you allow yourself to feel. But when you become aware of it, you stop being fully controlled by it. For example, imagine your mind says, "You always ruin everything." If you are not aware, you may believe it immediately. You may feel shame. You may stop trying. You may punish yourself. But if you are aware, you can pause and say, "This is a harsh thought. It is not completely true. I made one mistake. But that does not mean I ruin everything." This pause may seem small, but it is powerful. In that pause, you are no longer a prisoner of the thought. You are the observer of the thought, and when you become the observer, you create space between you and the voice inside your mind. That space is where healing begins. The problem is not that negative thoughts appear. Every human being has negative thoughts. The problem begins when you believe them without questioning them. A thought can come into your mind like a visitor, but you do not have to let it become the owner of your house. Fear can knock on the door, but you do not have to give it the keys to your life. Buddhism teaches that thoughts are passing experiences. They arise, they stay for a while, and then they disappear. But when you attach yourself to them, they become heavier. When you say, "This thought is me," you suffer more. But when you say, "This is only a thought passing through my mind," you become lighter. So when the inner enemy starts speaking, do not immediately fight it. Fighting sometimes makes it louder. Do not hate yourself for having negative thoughts. That only creates another layer of suffering. Instead, bring awareness, bring patience, bring calm attention. Say to yourself, "A negative thought is here." Say, "A voice of fear is speaking." Say, "An old wound is trying to control me." Say, "I can listen without believing." This is how you take your power back. Many people think healing means the mind will become silent forever. But healing does not always mean the negative voice disappears completely. Sometimes healing means you no longer obey it. Sometimes healing means the voice still appears, but you recognize it quickly. You say, "I know this pattern. I have heard this before. I do not need to follow it today." This is true strength. True strength is not pretending you never feel doubt. True strength is noticing doubt and still choosing a wise action. True strength is not never feeling fear. True strength is hearing fear and still taking one peaceful step forward. True strength is not having a perfect mind. True strength is learning how to guide your mind with awareness. Your inner enemy may tell you that you are weak, but awareness shows you that you are still here. Your inner enemy may tell you that you cannot change, but awareness shows you that every moment gives you a new choice. Your inner enemy may tell you that your past defines you, but awareness shows you that the past is only a memory appearing in the present moment. You do not have to keep living as the person your pain convinced you to become. You can begin again. One simple way to practice awareness is to slow down when you feel attacked by your own thoughts. Instead of reacting immediately, take a breath. Place your attention on the breath entering and leaving your body. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your body sitting or standing. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Then ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? This question is powerful because many people suffer without knowing the exact sentence causing their pain. They just feel heavy. They just feel sad. They just feel anxious. But when they look closely, they discover a thought behind the feeling. Maybe the thought is, "I am not enough." Maybe it is, "I will be left behind." Maybe it is, "I am a disappointment." Maybe it is, "My life will never improve." Once you see the sentence clearly, you can stop letting it control you secretly. Then ask, is this thought completely true? Most negative thoughts are extreme. They use words like always, never, everyone, nobody, everything and nothing. I always fail. Nobody loves me. Everything is ruined. I will never be happy. These thoughts sound strong, but they are often not accurate. They are emotional. They are painful. They are heavy. But they are not always true. Awareness helps you question them. If your mind says, "I fail," awareness asks, is it true that I always fail? Or have I all survived, learned, and succeeded in some way? If your mind says, "Nobody cares about me," awareness asks, is it true that nobody cares? Or am I feeling lonely right now? If your mind says, "I will never change," awareness asks, is it true that change is impossible? Or am I tired and discouraged today? This kind of questioning does not deny your pain. It simply stops pain from becoming your whole identity. There is a difference between feeling something and becoming something. You can feel failure without being a failure. You can feel lost without being hopeless. You can feel weak without being worthless. You can feel afraid without being unable. Feelings are experiences. They are not your entire self. Buddhism reminds us that everything changes. Thoughts change, emotions change, pain changes. Even the strongest storm in the mind cannot stay forever if you stop feeding it. But when you repeat the same painful thoughts and believe them every day, you keep the storm alive. Awareness stops feeding the storm. It says, I see you fear, but I will not become you. It says, I see you shame, but I will not obey you. It says, I see you anger, but I will not let you speak for me. It says, I see you sadness, but I will not let you decide my future. This is not easy, but it is possible. At first, awareness may only come after you have already reacted. You may speak badly to yourself and only later realize, I was being harsh again. That is still progress. Do not criticize yourself for noticing late. Noticing late is better than never noticing at all. With practice, you begin to notice sooner. Then one day you notice the negative thought as it appears. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can follow the old path, or you can choose a new one. The old path says attack yourself. The new path says understand yourself. The old path says you are hopeless. The new path says you are hurting and you need care. The old path says give up. The new path says take one breath, then take one step. This is how the inner enemy becomes weaker, not through force, but through awareness. Not through hatred, but through understanding. Not through more self-criticism, but through patient attention. You must understand this deeply. The part of you that attacks yourself is often a part of you that is afraid. It may be trying to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, failure, or pain. But it protects you in a harmful way. It tells you not to try so you cannot fail. It tells you not to trust so you cannot be hurt. It tells you not to dream so you cannot be disappointed. But a life controlled by fear is not peace. So when the inner enemy speaks, you can answer with wisdom. You can say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I do not need cruelty to stay safe. You can say, I can be careful without being afraid of everything. You can say, I can learn from pain without letting pain become my prison. This is a gentle way to transform the mind. Do not turn your healing into another reason to hate yourself. Some people hear about mindfulness and then become angry at themselves for having negative thoughts. They say, why am I still thinking like this? Why am I not peaceful yet? What is wrong with me? But this is just the inner enemy wearing a new mask. Healing requires patience. A mind that has been trained by years of fear will not become peaceful in one moment. A heart that has been hurt many times will not trust immediately. A person who has spoken harshly to themselves for years will need time to learn a new language inside. So be patient with the process. Every time you notice a negative thought, you are already waking up. Every time you pause before believing it, you are already healing. Every time you choose a kinder response, you are already creating a new mind. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be aware. Awareness is the first step to freedom because it shows you that you are not trapped inside your thoughts. You are the one who can observe them. You are the one who can question them. You are the one who can choose what to repeat, what to release, and what to believe. So today, begin watching your inner voice. Notice how it speaks when you make a mistake. Notice how it speaks when you look in the mirror. Notice how it speaks when someone else succeeds. Notice how it speaks when you feel alone. Notice how it speaks when you try to rest. Notice how it speaks when you dream of becoming better. Do not judge what you find, just notice. This noticing will teach you more about yourself than self-hatred ever could. And when you hear the inner enemy speaking, do not bow to it. Do not let it become your master. Do not let it decide your worth. See it clearly. Name it gently. Then choose a wiser voice. Say this is fear, not truth. Say this is pain, not identity. Say this is a memory, not my future. Say this is a thought, not a command. Say, I can choose peace. Little by little, the voice that once controlled you will lose its power. It may still appear, but it will no longer own you. It may still speak, but you will no longer believe everything it says. It may still try to pull you back into old pain, but you will know how to return to the present moment. This is how you silence the inner enemy, not by destroying your mind, but by understanding it. Not by hating your thoughts, but by observing them. Not by forcing peace, but by returning to awareness again and again. Because the moment you become aware of the voice that hurts you, you begin to separate from it. And the moment you separate from it, you begin to remember who you truly are beneath the fear, beneath the shame, beneath the old pain, and beneath the harsh words. You are not the enemy inside your mind. You are the awareness that can heal it. 7. Speak peace until peace becomes familiar. A peaceful mind is not created in one moment. It is not created by one good thought, one quiet morning, or one beautiful sentence. A peaceful mind is created through practice. It is created by returning to peace again and again, even after fear comes back, even after sadness returns, even after old thoughts try to pull you into the same painful place. Many people want peace, but they keep speaking to themselves in a way that creates war inside. They wake up and immediately think, I am behind. They make one mistake and think, I am useless. They see someone else succeeding and think, my life is nothing. They feel tired and think, I am weak. Then they wonder why their mind never feels calm. But how can the mind feel peaceful if every day it is being attacked from inside? Buddhism teaches that peace begins with awareness, but peace grows through repetition. You must repeat peaceful words until your mind begins to understand that it is safe. You must speak gently to yourself until gentleness becomes familiar. You must return to kind thoughts again and again until kindness becomes your natural way of living. At first, peace may feel strange. If you have spent years criticizing yourself, kindness may feel uncomfortable. If you have spent years expecting the worst, calmness may feel unfamiliar. If you have spent years calling yourself weak, saying, I am learning may feel false. But this does not mean peace is wrong. It only means your mind is used to suffering. Sometimes pain feels familiar, and peace feels new. That is why you must practice peace. Think about a path in a forest. If you walk the same path every day, the ground becomes clear. The grass disappears. The road becomes easy to follow. But if you want to create a new path, you must walk it again and again. At first it feels difficult. The grass is still there. The way is not clear. But every time you walk it, the path becomes easier. Your mind is the same. If you have walked the path of self-criticism for many years, your mind goes there automatically. It knows that road. It knows how to blame you, shame you, and scare you. But when you begin speaking peace, you are creating a new path. At first it may feel slow, but every peaceful word is another step on that new path. This is why you must not give up after one day. When your mind says, you are not good enough, answer with peace. I am still learning, and I do not need to hate myself to improve. When your mind says, you always fail, answer with peace. I have failed before, but I have also survived, learned, and grown. When your mind says, nothing will change, answer with peace. This moment is difficult, but change is still possible. When your mind says, you are alone, answer with peace. I can be present with myself. I can care for myself. I can breathe through this moment. This is not fake positivity. This is not pretending that life has no problems. This is training the mind to stop turning every problem into a prison. There is a big difference between denying pain and speaking peace. Denying pain says, nothing is wrong. Speaking peace says, something hurts, but I can be gentle with myself while I heal. Denying pain says, I must be happy all the time. Speaking peace says, I am allowed to feel sadness, but I do not have to destroy myself because of it. Buddhism does not teach us to run away from suffering. It teaches us to understand suffering. It teaches us to look at pain with awareness, patience, and compassion. When you speak peace to yourself, you are not escaping reality. You are meeting reality with a calmer mind. Life will still bring difficult days. You will still face disappointment. You will still make mistakes. You will still have moments when you feel lost, tired, or afraid. But when your inner voice becomes peaceful, these moments will not destroy you the same way. You will know how to sit with them. You will know how to breathe through them. You will know how to remind yourself, this is only a moment. This is not my whole life. Peace does not mean nothing difficult happens. Peace means you stop turning against yourself when difficulty happens. This is very important to understand. Many people suffer twice. First, they suffer because something painful happens. Then they suffer again because they attack themselves for feeling pain. They say, "Why am I so weak? Why am I still sad? Why can't I move on? Why am I like this?" But this only adds more pain to the pain that is already there. When you speak peace, you stop creating the second suffering. You say, "I am hurting and I need kindness." You say, "I am struggling and I can take one step." You say, "I am not perfect, but I am still worthy of compassion." You say, "I do not need to punish myself for being human." This is how peace becomes familiar. It becomes familiar when you choose it in small moments. Not only when life is easy, but especially when life is hard. Speak peace when you wake up and feel heavy. Speak peace when you compare yourself to someone else. Speak peace when you make a mistake. Speak peace when you feel behind in life. Speak peace when your past comes back in your mind. Speak peace when you feel rejected. Speak peace when you do not know what will happen next. Speak peace when your mind wants to return to old patterns. Every time you do this, you are teaching your mind a new language. You are teaching it that mistakes do not need cruelty. You are teaching it that pain does not need self-hatred. You are teaching it that growth does not need shame. You are teaching it that you can become better without breaking yourself. Many people believe that being harsh with themselves will make them stronger. They think, "If I criticize myself enough, I will improve." But harshness does not create true strength. It creates fear. It may force you to move for a while, but it does not give you peace. It does not give you confidence. It does not give you deep healing. A person who is always threatened from inside may work hard, but they will never feel safe. They may achieve things, but they will still feel empty. They may look strong outside, but inside they will feel tired, because they are living with an inner voice that never allows them to rest. Peaceful self-talk does not make you lazy. It makes you steady. It helps you correct yourself without destroying yourself. It helps you take responsibility without shame. It helps you grow from mistakes without turning mistakes into identity. You can say, "I need to do better," without saying, "I am worthless." You can say, "I made a wrong choice," without saying, "I am a bad person." You can say, "I need to improve," without saying, "I hate myself." This is wise discipline. This is the middle path. Not too soft that you ignore your growth, and not too cruel that you damage your heart. A peaceful mind can still be disciplined. A kind inner voice can still be strong. Compassion does not mean weakness. Compassion means you guide yourself with wisdom instead of fear. In Buddhism, loving kindness is a powerful practice. It begins by sending kind thoughts to yourself and then to others. This matters because many people try to love the world while secretly hating themselves. They try to be patient with others while being impatient with their own pain. They try to forgive others while punishing themselves for old mistakes. But peace must also be offered inward. You can quietly say, "May I be peaceful." You can say, "May I be free from self-hatred." You can say, "May I learn to speak kindly to myself." You can say, "May I forgive myself for what I did not understand before." You can say, "May I grow without cruelty." At first these words may feel simple, but simple words repeated with sincerity can soften the heart. They can open space inside the mind. They can remind you that you do not need to be your own enemy. When you speak peace to yourself, you begin to build an inner home. A place inside you where you can return when the world feels loud. A place where you are not attacked for every mistake. A place where you are allowed to breathe. A place where your pain is not judged, but understood. This inner home is important because the outside world will not always be gentle. Some people will misunderstand you. Some people will criticize you. Some people will leave. Some people will not see your effort. Some people will not know how hard you are trying. If your peace depends only on the outside world, you will always feel unstable. But when you build peace inside, you carry a safe place with you. This does not mean nothing can hurt you. It means hurt will not completely control you. It means criticism will not become your identity. It means rejection will not make you reject yourself. It means failure will not make you believe your life is finished. You will still feel pain, but you will also have a voice inside that says, "Breathe. This is difficult, but you can meet it with wisdom." That voice becomes your strength. The more you speak peace, the more your nervous system begins to relax. The more you stop attacking yourself, the more energy you have to actually heal. Because self-hatred takes so much energy, shame takes so much energy, constant inner criticism takes so much energy. It drains the mind, it makes even small tasks feel heavy. But peace gives energy back to you. When your mind is not fighting itself all day, you can think more clearly, you can make better choices, you can respond instead of react. You can rest without guilt, you can work without panic. You can grow without feeling like you are running from yourself. This is why the way you speak inside matters so much. Your words are not empty, they become the atmosphere of your mind. If your inner words are always harsh, your mind becomes a place of tension. If your inner words are peaceful, your mind slowly becomes a place of safety. Imagine living inside a house where someone shouts at you every day. Even if the house is beautiful, you will not feel peace there. Now imagine living inside a simple house where someone speaks gently, patiently, and wisely. Even if the house is not perfect, you can still feel safe. Your mind is the house you live in every day. So ask yourself, what kind of voice is living there? Is it a voice that attacks you or a voice that guides you? Is it a voice that reminds you of every failure or a voice that reminds you of your ability to begin again? Is it a voice that makes you feel small or a voice that helps you stand with quiet strength? If the voice inside you has been harsh for many years, do not hate yourself for that. Just begin changing it. Begin with one sentence. Begin with one breath. Begin with one moment of awareness. When you notice yourself saying, "I am useless," pause and replace it with, "I am struggling, but I am not useless." When you notice yourself saying, "I can never change," replace it with, "Change takes time, and I can take one small step today." When you notice yourself saying, "I hate myself," replace it with, "I am in pain, and I need compassion." When you notice yourself saying, "My life is ruined," replace it with, "This chapter is painful, but my story is not finished." These replacements are not small. They are acts of healing. They are moments where you choose not to deepen the wound. They are moments where you stop giving the old voice complete control, and with time the new voice becomes stronger. One day, you will notice that when something painful happens, your mind does not immediately destroy you. It pauses, it breathes, it remembers, it says, "This hurts, but I can handle it." That is progress. One day you will make a mistake, and instead of saying, "I am nothing," you will say, "I need to learn from this." That is growth. One day, someone will criticize you, and instead of carrying their words forever, you will ask, "Is this useful? Is this true? What can I learn, and what can I release wisdom?" One day you will feel sad, and instead of being ashamed of sadness, you will sit with it gently. You will say, "Sadness is here, but I do not need to become hopeless." That is peace. This is the power of speaking peace until peace becomes familiar. It changes how you meet life. It changes how you meet yourself. It changes how you meet pain. It changes how you meet the future. When peace becomes familiar, you stop needing every situation to be perfect before you feel okay. You stop waiting for everyone to understand you before you give yourself understanding. You stop waiting for life to become easy before you treat yourself kindly. You stop waiting for the future to be certain before you breathe in the present. You begin to understand that peace is not something you find only after everything is solved. Peace is something you practice while life is still unfolding. This is a deep Buddhist truth. Everything is changing. Nothing stays the same forever. Your pain is changing, your thought changing, your emotions are changing, your life is changing. Even the version of you who feels lost today is not permanent. So do not speak to yourself as if your pain is permanent. Do not say, "I will always be this way." Do not say, "Nothing good will ever happen." Do not say, "I am stuck forever." These words trap your mind inside a moment that is already changing. Instead, speak with the wisdom of impermanence. Say, "This feeling will pass." Say, "This moment is not forever." Say, "I can change because everything changes." Say, "I am not finished." Say, "I can begin again." When you speak this way, you are reminding your mind of truth. You are reminding yourself that suffering is not your final identity. You are reminding your heart that even after long darkness, light can return. But remember, peace is not forced. You do not have to shout positive words at yourself. You do not have to pretend to be happy when you are hurting. Peaceful speech is gentle. It sounds like a calm hand on your shoulder. It sounds like a wise friend sitting beside you. It sounds like someone saying, "I know this is hard." But you are not alone inside yourself anymore. That is what you are becoming for yourself. A calm presence, a wise friend, a safe place, a person who no longer uses their own mind as a weapon. This does not mean you will never have negative thoughts again. Negative thoughts may still come. Old patterns may still return. Some days will still feel heavy. But the difference is that now you know what to do. You know how to pause. You know how to breathe. You know how to notice the thought without becoming it. You know how to speak peace back into the place where fear is trying to grow. That is the practice. Again and again, breath by breath, sentence by sentence, moment by moment, you return to peace. When you are tired, return to peace. When you are afraid, return to peace. When you are ashamed, return to peace. When you feel behind, return to peace. When your mind becomes loud, return to peace. When old pain comes back, return to peace. This returning is what changes you. Not perfection, not never struggling, not always feeling calm, but returning. Returning to awareness, returning to kindness, returning to the present moment, returning to the truth that you do not have to be cruel to yourself anymore. Your mind believes what you tell it. So tell it words that help it heal. Tell it words that help it soften. Tell it words that help it become brave without becoming hard. Tell it words that help it become disciplined without becoming cruel. Tell it words that help it become peaceful without denying pain. Tell your mind, "I am allowed to grow slowly." Tell your mind, "I can learn from this." Tell your mind, "I do not need to hate myself to change." Tell your mind, "I am more than this mistake." Tell your mind, "I am more than this fear." Tell your mind, "I am more than this painful chapter." Tell your mind, "Peace is possible for me." And keep telling it, not once, not only when you feel good, but every day, until peace becomes familiar, until kindness becomes natural, until your inner voice becomes a place of refuge instead of a place of punishment. Because the way you speak to yourself becomes the way you live with yourself. And the way you live with yourself affects everything. It affects how you love, how you work, how you rest, how you handle pain, how you face failure, and how you walk through the world. So from today, stop using your words to keep yourself wounded. Stop repeating the sentences that make your heart heavy. Stop calling yourself names that you would never call someone you love. Stop letting old pain speak louder than present wisdom. Speak peace. Speak patience. Speak courage. Speak compassion. Speak like someone who wants to heal, not someone who wants to punish. And slowly, your mind will learn a new way. Slowly, your heart will stop expecting attack from inside. Slowly, your life will begin to feel lighter, not because everything outside becomes perfect, but because something inside becomes kinder. And when your inner world becomes kinder, even difficult days become easier to survive. This is the final lesson. Your mind is always listening. It listens when you criticize yourself, but it also listens when you comfort yourself. It listens when you repeat fear, but it also listens when you repeat wisdom. It listens when you call yourself broken, but it also listens when you say, "I am healing." So give your mind words worth believing. Give your heart words that bring it home. Give your life an inner voice that helps you rise. Speak peace until peace becomes familiar. And one day, the same mind that once felt like your enemy will become a place where healing begins. 8. Become the voice that saves you, not the voice that breaks you. There comes a time in life when you must understand one very important truth. The voice inside your mind can either become your rescue or your prison. It can either help you stand when life becomes heavy, or it can push you even deeper into pain. It can either remind you of your strength, or it can keep reminding you of every mistake, every failure, every regret, and every painful memory until you forget who you truly are. Many people are waiting for someone outside them to save them. They wait for someone to say the right words, give them confidence, make them feel worthy, or tell them that they are enough. And yes, kind words from others can help. Support from others can bring comfort. Love from others can bring healing. But Buddhism teaches that true peace cannot depend only on what comes from outside. If your mind is still attacking you from inside, even the kindest words from others may not stay for long. Someone may tell you you are strong, but if your own mind keeps saying, "No, I am weak," you will struggle to believe them. Someone may tell you you are worthy, but if your inner voice keeps saying, "No, I am nothing," their words will not fully reach your heart. Someone may encourage you to begin again, but if your own mind keeps whispering, you will fail again. You may stop yourself before life even gives you another chance. This is why your inner voice matters so deeply. You must become the voice that saves you. Not because you do not need anyone else, not because you must become cold, lonely, or emotionally closed, but because you cannot live peacefully if your own mind is always working against you. You cannot build a better life while the voice inside you keeps destroying your courage. You cannot heal if every time you fall, your own thoughts punish you more than life itself. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when we attach ourselves to painful thoughts. A thought appears and we believe it. A fear appears and we follow it. A memory appears and we live inside it again. A mistake happens and we turn it into an identity. But the path of awakening begins when you realize that you do not have to obey every inner voice. You can choose which voice to strengthen. Inside you, there may be many voices. There is a voice of fear. There is a voice of shame. There is a voice of anger. There is a voice of sadness. There is a voice that remembers every time you were hurt. There is a voice that wants to protect you by making you avoid everything difficult. But there is also a wiser voice inside you, a calmer voice, a voice of compassion, a voice that says, "Breathe." A voice that says, "This is painful, but you can move through it." A voice that says, "You are not finished." A voice that says, "You can begin again." The question is not which voice appears. The question is which voice you feed. If you feed the voice of fear, fear becomes louder. If you feed the voice of shame, shame becomes stronger. If you feed the voice of self-hatred, self-hatred becomes familiar. But if you feed the voice of peace, peace begins to grow. If you feed the voice of wisdom, wisdom becomes clearer. If you feed the voice of compassion, compassion becomes easier to return to. This is why you must be careful with the words you repeat when you are hurt. When life becomes difficult, the mind becomes very sensitive. In those moments, your words go deeper. When you are tired, rejected, disappointed, or afraid, your mind listens more strongly to what you tell it. If you say, "I cannot handle this," your heart becomes heavier. If you say, "My life is over," your hope becomes smaller. If you say, "I am nothing," your spirit begins to shrink. But if you say, "This is hard, but I can take one breath," something changes. If you say, "I am hurting, but I will not abandon myself," something softens. If you say, "I made a mistake, but I can learn," something opens. If you say, "I am allowed to begin again," something inside you remembers that the future is not closed. This does not mean your pain disappears instantly. It means you stop adding more pain with your own words. There is a deep difference between pain and self-abandonment. Pain says, "This hurts." Self-abandonment says, "Because this hurts, I am worthless." Pain says, "I made a mistake." Self-abandonment says, "I am a mistake." Pain says, "This season is difficult." Self-abandonment says, "My whole life is ruined." Buddhism teaches us to see things clearly, to see pain as pain, not as identity, to see mistakes as mistakes, not as proof that we are hopeless, to see emotions as passing waves, not as permanent truth. When you become the voice that saves you, you learn to speak clearly. You do not exaggerate your suffering until it becomes a prison. You do not turn one difficult moment into a sentence against your whole life. You say, "This is a painful moment." You do not say, "My whole life is pain." You say, "I failed at this." You do not say, "I am a failure." You say, "I feel lost today." You do not say, "I will be lost forever." This kind of inner speech is powerful because it gives your mind room to breathe. It allows pain to exist without allowing pain to control the entire story. It allows you to be honest without being cruel. It allows you to be responsible without being abusive toward yourself. Many people think that if they speak kindly to themselves, they will become weak. They believe they need harsh words to stay disciplined. But harsh words do not create deep strength. Harsh words create fear. They may push you for a short time, but they also damage your peace. They make you feel like you must run from yourself. They make your mind a place where you never feel safe. True strength is different. True strength sounds calm. True strength says, I will face this. True strength says, I will learn. True strength says, I will not give up on myself. True strength does not need to insult you. It does not need to shame you. It does not need to make you hate yourself before you take action. A wise inner voice can correct you without crushing you. It can say, you need to do better, without saying, you are useless. It can say, this habit is hurting you, without saying, you are hopeless. It can say, you must change your direction, without saying, you are a bad person. This is the voice you must build. Because life will not always be easy. There will be days when nobody understands you. There will be moments when you feel alone with your thoughts. There will be nights when old pain returns. There will be times when you make mistakes, lose confidence, or feel like you are falling behind. In those moments, the voice inside you will matter more than almost anything else. If that voice attacks you, the pain will feel heavier. But if that voice guides you, even the hardest moment becomes more bearable. Imagine walking through a dark forest. If the person walking beside you keeps saying, you are stupid, you are lost, you will never find your way, your fear will grow. But if that person says, stay calm, keep walking, one step at a time, we will find the way, you may still be afraid, but you will not feel completely hopeless. Your inner voice is the person walking beside you every day. So ask yourself, what kind of companion are you inside your own mind? Are you walking beside yourself with cruelty or with patience? Are you reminding yourself of every reason to give up or every reason to continue? Are you making your pain heavier or helping your heart carry it? This question can change your life, because many people do not realize that they are living with an inner voice they would never tolerate from another person. If someone followed you all day and said you are worthless, you always fail, you are not enough, your life will never change, you would feel exhausted. You would know that this person is harming you. But when the same words come from inside your own mind, you may accept them as truth. Do not accept cruelty just because it is coming from your own thoughts. A cruel thought is still cruel. A harmful inner voice is still harmful. A repeated insult is still an insult, even when you say it to yourself. Buddhism invites you to wake up and see this clearly. You do not need to believe every harsh sentence your mind produces. You do not need to build your identity around old pain. You do not need to keep repeating the same words that once made you feel small. You can train a new voice. At first, the new voice may feel quiet. The voice of fear may be louder because it has been practiced for years. The voice of self-criticism may speak faster because it has become a habit. But do not mistake loudness for truth. A thought can be loud and still be false. A fear can feel strong and still be unwise. An old belief can feel familiar and still be harmful. The peaceful voice may begin as a whisper, may simply say, pause. It may say, breathe. It may say, do not speak to yourself like that. It may say, this is not the whole truth. It may say, try again tomorrow. Do not ignore that whisper. Feed it. Repeat it. Return to it. Let it grow. Every time you choose that wiser voice, you weaken the old pattern. Every time you refuse to insult yourself, you create space for healing. Every time you answer fear with patience, your mind learns a new way. Every time you speak to yourself with compassion, you are teaching your heart that it no longer needs to expect attack from inside. This is how you become your own refuge. In Buddhism, refuge is very important. People seek refuge in wisdom, in truth, in the path of awakening. But in daily life, you must also become a refuge for your own mind. This means when the world becomes loud, you know how to return to calm. When thoughts become heavy, you know how to return to awareness. When life hurts, you do not abandon yourself. Being your own refuge does not mean you never need support. It means you do not leave yourself helpless while waiting for support. It means even when nobody is there, You can place a gentle hand on your own heart and say, I am here with you. I will not attack you. I will help you through this moment. These words may seem simple, but they are deeply healing. Many people have spent years waiting for someone to say, I am proud of you. But sometimes you must say it to yourself first. You must say, I am proud of myself for surviving. You must say, I am proud of myself for trying. You must say, I am proud of myself for not giving up, even when my mind was heavy. Many people have spent years waiting for someone to say, you are enough. But sometimes you must begin telling your own mind, I do not need to be perfect to be worthy of kindness. You must remind yourself, my worth is not destroyed by one mistake, one rejection, one failure, or one painful chapter. Many people have spent years waiting for someone to rescue them from their own thoughts. But the deepest rescue begins when you stop joining the thoughts that hurt you. You rescue yourself every time you refuse to believe the sentence, I am nothing. You rescue yourself every time you replace I cannot with I can take one small step. You rescue yourself every time you stop calling yourself broken and start saying, I am healing. You rescue yourself every time you choose awareness over automatic self-hatred. This is not a dramatic rescue. It is quiet. It happens inside. It happens in small moments. It happens when nobody is watching. It happens when you are alone and you choose not to destroy yourself with your own words. That is real strength. Because the hardest battles are often not the battles others can see. Sometimes the hardest battle is the one inside your own mind, where you are trying to stop repeating the words that wounded you. You are trying to stop becoming the voice of those who criticized you. You are trying to stop punishing yourself for being human. And slowly, with practice, you can win that battle. Not by force, not by anger, not by hating your mind, but by returning to awareness, compassion, and wise speech again and again. When you become the voice that saves you, you begin to change your relationship with mistakes. A mistake no longer becomes proof that you are hopeless. It becomes information. It becomes a lesson. It becomes a moment where you can ask, what can I learn? What can I do differently? How can I grow from this? This is a beautiful way to live. When you become the voice that saves you, rejection no longer becomes proof that you are unworthy. It becomes a painful experience, but not your identity. You can say, this rejection hurts, but it does not define my value. I can grieve it without losing myself. When you become the voice that saves you, comparison no longer controls your heart. When you see someone else succeeding, your mind does not need to say, I am behind. It can say, their path is theirs and my path is mine. I can learn from others without using their success to hate myself. When you become the voice that saves you, sadness no longer becomes shame. You do not say, why am I sad? What is wrong with me? You say, sadness is here. I will sit with it gently. I will not turn sadness into self-hatred. When you become the voice that saves you, fear no longer becomes your master. You can say, fear is present, but I do not need to obey it blindly. I can listen, breathe, and still choose wisely. This is how the inner world becomes softer. And when your inner world becomes softer, your outer life begins to change too. You stop reacting so quickly. You stop needing everyone to approve of you. You stop carrying every criticism like a life sentence. You stop turning every delay into proof that you are failing. You stop letting one bad day convince you that your whole life is bad. You become more steady. You become more patient. You become more honest with yourself. You become more peaceful, not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop making life harder with your own inner cruelty. This is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, to become a safe place inside your own mind, because wherever you go, your mind goes with you. You can travel to a beautiful place, but if your mind is full of self-hatred, peace will still feel far away. You can achieve success, but if your mind keeps saying, it is not enough, you will not enjoy it. You can be surrounded by people, but if your inner voice keeps saying, you do not belong, you may still feel alone. This is why inner speech matters. It follows you into every room. It follows you into every relationship. It follows you into every dream. It follows you into every failure and every success. So make that voice wise, make it kind, make it honest, make it strong, make it patient. Make it a voice that helps you return to yourself instead of running away from yourself. A helpful inner voice does not always sound happy. Sometimes it sounds firm. Sometimes it says, you need to stop this habit. Sometimes it says, you need to take responsibility. Sometimes it says, you cannot keep living this way. But even when it is firm, it is not cruel. It speaks for your growth, not against your worth. This is important because kindness without honesty can become avoidance, but honesty without kindness can become violence against yourself. You need both. You need compassion and responsibility. You need gentleness and discipline. You need peace and effort. A wise inner voice says, I love myself enough to change. It does not say, I hate myself, so I must change. That difference is everything. When change comes from self-hatred, it feels desperate. You try to become better because you believe you are not enough. You try to achieve more because you feel empty. You try to prove yourself because you do not feel worthy. But when change comes from self-respect, it feels different. You grow because you care about your life. You improve because you value your peace. You become disciplined because you know your future deserves effort. This is the voice that saves you. It says, I will not abandon myself. It says, I will not speak to myself like an enemy. It says, I will not turn pain into identity. It says, I will not let old wounds write my whole story. It says, I will walk with myself even through difficult seasons. And the more you repeat this voice, the more your mind begins to trust it. At first, you may not believe it completely. That is okay. You do not need perfect belief to begin. You only need practice. The old voice all became strong through practice. You repeated it. You listened to it. You allowed it to shape your thoughts. Now you can practice something different. You can practice saying, I am learning. You can practice saying, I am healing. You can practice saying, I can begin again. You can practice saying, this thought is not the whole truth. You can practice saying, I will not hurt myself with my own words. Over time, the mind changes through repetition. What once felt strange becomes familiar. What once felt weak becomes strength. What once felt impossible becomes natural. One day you will realize that the voice inside you has changed. It will not be perfect, but it will be kinder. It will not be silent, but it will be wiser. It will not remove every problem from your life, but it will help you meet those problems with more peace. And that is enough, because you do not need a perfect mind to live a better life. You need a mind that is willing to wake up. You need a mind that is willing to stop attacking itself. You need a mind that is willing to return to compassion after falling into fear. You need a mind that understands that healing is not a straight line. Some days the old voice may come back. It may say you are failing again. It may say nothing has changed. It may say you are still the same. But now you can answer differently. You can say, old voice, I hear you, but I do not need to follow you. You can say, I am not perfect, but I am practicing. You can say, falling back does not mean starting over from nothing. It means I return to awareness again. This is how growth works. You return again and again. You return to the breath. You return to the present moment. You return to kind speech. You return to the wiser voice. You return until returning becomes natural. The final truth is simple. You are with yourself for your whole life. You will hear your own mind more than you hear anyone else. You will live with your own thoughts in silence, in difficulty, in success, in failure, in youth, in old age, in joy, and in sorrow. So make your inner voice a friend. Make it a teacher. Make it a guide. Make it a place where healing can happen. Do not become the voice that breaks you. Become the voice that brings you back. When you are lost, speak like a guide. When you are hurt, speak like a healer. When you are afraid, speak like a calm friend. When you fail, speak like a wise teacher. When you feel alone, speak like someone who refuses to abandon you. Because your mind believes what you tell it. And if you keep telling it words of peace, wisdom, courage, and compassion, it will slowly learn to live in a new way. So today, begin again. Speak to yourself with care. Correct yourself with wisdom. Comfort yourself with patience. Guide yourself with love. And when the old voice tries to return, remember this. You do not have to be the enemy inside your own mind anymore. You can become the voice that saves you. 9. Train your mind every day before the world trains it for you. Your mind is being trained every single day, whether you notice it or not. Every word you hear, every thought you repeat, every video you watch, every person you listen to, every memory you replay, and every sentence you speak to yourself is shaping your mind. Nothing enters the mind without leaving some kind of mark. This is why Buddhism teaches us to be careful with the mind. The mind is powerful, but it is also easily influenced. If you do not train your mind with awareness, the world will train it with fear, comparison, anger, and noise. Many people wake up and immediately give their mind to the world. They check their phone before they check their own heart. They read bad news before they take one peaceful breath. They compare their life to someone else's life before they even begin their own day. They listen to the opinions of others before listening to the quiet wisdom inside themselves. Then they wonder why their mind feels heavy. But the truth is simple. If you feed your mind stress every morning, your mind will carry stress through the day. If you feed your mind comparison, your mind will feel behind. If you feed your mind anger, your mind will become restless. If you feed your mind self-criticism, your mind will begin to believe that you are not enough. Your mind believes what you repeatedly give it. So before the world fills your mind with fear, you must fill it with awareness. Before the world tells you who you are, you must remind yourself of what is true. Before life becomes loud, you must create a quiet place inside yourself. This does not require a perfect life. It does not require hours of meditation. It begins with small moments of training, a few peaceful breaths in the morning, a few kind words to yourself before the day begins, a few minutes of silence before you allow the noise of the world to enter. When you wake up, do not begin the day by attacking yourself. Do not say, "I am tired of this life." Do not say, "Today will be bad." Do not say, "I am already behind." These words may seem harmless, but they set the direction of your mind. Instead, begin gently. Say, "I am here." Say, "I can meet this day one step at a time." I do not need to be perfect today. Say, "I will speak to myself with patience." Say, "I will not let one difficult moment control my whole mind." These simple words are like placing your hands on the steering wheel of your own mind. You are telling your mind where to go before the world tries to pull it in every direction. Buddhism teaches that the untrained mind creates suffering. It jumps from fear to memory, from memory to regret, from regret to worry, from worry to comparison, and from comparison to sadness. If you leave the mind alone without awareness, it may travel into painful places automatically. But a trained mind learns to return. It returns to the breath. It returns to the present moment. It returns to compassion. It returns to truth. It returns to peace. This returning is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the quiet discipline of not allowing your mind to run wild with every fear, every insult, every memory, and every negative thought. Think of your mind like a garden. If you do not take care of a garden, weeds will grow by themselves. You do not need to plant weeds. They appear naturally when the garden is ignored. But if you want flowers, you must plant them. You must water them. You must protect them. You must return again and again. The mind is the same. Fear grows easily when the mind is ignored. Anger grows easily when the mind is not watched. Self-hatred grows easily when the mind is fed with harsh words. But peace must be planted. Confidence must be planted. Compassion must be planted. Wisdom must be planted, and you plant them through repetition. Every morning you can plant peace. Every time you make a mistake, you can plant patience. Every time fear appears, you can plant courage. Every time comparison appears, you can plant gratitude. Every time self-hatred appears, you can plant compassion. This is daily training. Many people think training the mind means they must never have negative thoughts, but that is not true. Training the mind means you learn what to do when negative thoughts appear. You learn not to believe them immediately. You learn not to feed them with more fear. You learn not to let them become your identity. A negative thought may come and say, "You are not enough." A trained mind does not immediately bow to it. A trained mind pauses and says, "This is only a thought. I do not need to believe it." A painful memory may return and say, "You will always be hurt." A trained mind breathes and says, "This is a memory, not my future." A mistake may happen, and the mind may say, "You ruined everything." A trained mind answers, "I made a mistake, but I can still learn and move forward." This is how you stop being controlled by every inner storm. The world will constantly try to train your mind in the opposite direction. It will teach you to compare. It will teach you to rush. It will teach you to chase approval. It will teach you to feel like you are never doing enough. It will show you other people's success and make you question your own path. It will show you perfect images and make you feel imperfect. It will show you noise and make silence feel strange. That is why you must protect your mind. Protecting your mind does not mean hiding from life. It means being careful about what you allow to shape you. It means noticing what makes your mind restless and what makes your mind peaceful. It means understanding that not everything deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves space in your heart. Not every voice deserves permission to enter your inner world. Your attention is precious. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. If your attention is always on what is missing, your mind will feel poor even when you have blessings. If your attention is always on who is ahead of you, your mind will feel behind even when you are growing. If your attention is always on your mistakes, your mind will forget your progress. So train your attention. In the morning, place your attention on the breath. During the day, place your attention on what you can control. When you feel overwhelmed, place your attention on the next right step. When you feel negative, place your attention on one thing you can be grateful for. When your mind attacks you, place your attention on compassion. This is not easy at first because the mind likes old habits. If the mind has been trained for years to worry, it will return to worry quickly. If the mind has been trained for years to criticize you, it will criticize you automatically. If the mind has been trained for years to expect pain, it will search for pain everywhere. But do not be discouraged. A mind can be retrained. You are not stuck with the same inner voice forever. You are not trapped in the same mental pattern forever. You are not forced to spend your whole life believing every painful thought that appears. Every day is a chance to train the mind again. You train it when you choose silence instead of reacting. You train it when you choose patience instead of self-hatred. You train it when you choose awareness instead of automatic fear. You train it when you choose a better sentence instead of repeating the old painful sentence. You train it when you say, "I will not speak to myself like this anymore." This kind of training is quiet, but it changes everything. A person with an untrained mind may have a peaceful life outside and still suffer inside. But a person with a trained mind can face difficulty and still carry a center of calm within them. This does not mean they never feel pain. It means pain does not completely own them. It means fear does not make every decision. It means self-criticism does not become their only voice. Buddhism teaches the importance of right effort. Right effort means you gently and consistently guide the mind away from harmful states and toward wholesome states. You do not do this with hatred. You do not force the mind with violence. You train it with patience, like guiding a child who keeps wandering away. If the mind wanders into fear, bring it back. If the mind wanders into self-hate, bring it back. If the mind wanders into regret, bring it back. If the mind wanders into comparison, bring it back. If the mind wanders into hopelessness, bring it back. Again and again, bring it back. This is the practice. Some days you will do this well. Some days you will forget. Some days your mind will feel peaceful. Some days your mind will feel noisy. But do not judge the whole journey by one difficult day. Even noticing that your mind is noisy is a form of awareness. Even realizing that you are being harsh with yourself is a step toward healing. Do not say, "I failed at being peaceful." Say, "I noticed my mind was suffering, and that noticing is the beginning of peace." This is a gentler way to grow. Many people want transformation, but they do not want practice. They want confidence, but they keep repeating fear. They want peace, but they keep feeding the mind chaos. They want self-love, but they keep speaking to themselves with cruelty. They want a new life, but they keep training the mind in the old way. If you want a different inner world, you must practice a different inner language. You cannot speak defeat every day and expect your mind to feel strong. You cannot speak shame every day and expect your heart to feel free. You cannot speak hopelessness every day and expect your future to feel open. You must begin speaking the way you want your mind to grow. Speak with patience. Speak with courage. Speak with forgiveness. Speak with discipline. Speak with peace. Speak with... When you say, "I am learning," your mind begins to look for lessons instead of only failure. When you say, "I can take one step," your mind begins to look for action instead of only fear. When you say, "This feeling will pass," your mind begins to remember impermanence. When you say, "I do not need to hate myself," your heart begins to relax. This is not magic, this is training. Just as the body becomes stronger through repeated exercise, the mind becomes steadier through repeated awareness. You cannot lift a weight once and expect the body to transform forever. In the same way, you cannot speak one kind sentence and expect the mind to be healed forever. You must return to the practice. Every day, return. Return when life is easy. Return when life is hard. Return when you feel strong. Return when you feel weak. Return when you feel peaceful. Return when you feel broken. Return because every return is part of the training. The goal is not to become a person who never struggles. The goal is to become a person who knows how to meet struggle with wisdom. The goal is not to silence every thought forever. The goal is to stop letting every thought control you. The goal is not to become perfect. The goal is to become aware. Awareness is the door. Once you become aware, you can choose. You can choose not to repeat the insult. You can choose not to believe the fear. You can choose not to replay the mistake for the 100th time. You can choose not to let someone else's opinion become your identity. You can choose not to let a bad morning become a bad life. This choice may feel small, but it is the beginning of freedom. A trained mind does not depend on perfect circumstances. It knows that life will change. It knows that people will change. It knows that feelings will change. It knows that success and failure will come and go, so it does not hold everything too tightly. It learns to breathe. It learns to release. It learns to return to the present moment. This is why daily mind training is so important. If you only try to calm your mind when life is already falling apart, it will feel difficult. But if you train your mind every day in small ways, then when difficulty comes, your mind has something to return to. Practice peace before you need peace. Practice patience before anger arrives. Practice compassion before failure happens. Practice awareness before fear becomes loud. Practice kind self-talk before your heart feels broken. This is how you prepare the mind. You can begin with a simple morning practice. Before touching your phone, sit quietly for 1 minute. Breathe in and know that you are breathing in. Breathe out and know that you are breathing out. Then speak one sentence to yourself with intention. Say, "Today I will not talk down to myself." Say, "Today I will be aware of my inner voice." Say, "Today I will correct myself with kindness." Say, "Today I will return to peace when my mind becomes loud." This small practice can change the tone of your whole day. You can also practice during difficult moments. When something goes wrong, pause before reacting. Notice the first sentence your mind creates. Is it kind? Is it cruel? Is it true? Is it useful? Does it help you grow, or does it only make you suffer? If the sentence is harmful, replace it. Not with a lie, not with fake happiness, but with something wiser. Instead of "I cannot handle this," say "This is difficult, but I can take one step." Instead of "I am terrible," say "I made a mistake, but I can learn." Instead of "Everything is ruined," say "This is painful, but it is not the end of my life." Instead of "I am behind everyone," say "I am walking my path and I can keep moving." This is how you train your mind in real life, not only in meditation, not only when you are calm, but in the middle of ordinary moments, when your old thoughts try to return. You train the mind while washing your face in the morning. You train the mind while walking alone. You train the mind while working. You train the mind while listening to criticism. You train the mind while feeling disappointed. You train the mind while trying again after failure. Every moment becomes part of the path. Buddhism does not separate spiritual practice from daily life. The way you speak to yourself is practice. The way you respond to pain is practice. The way you handle mistakes is practice. The way you bring your mind back from fear is practice. So do not wait for a perfect moment to begin. Begin now. Begin with your next thought. Begin with your next breath. Begin with the next sentence you speak inside yourself. If the mind says, "You are not enough," do not feed it. If the mind says, "You will never change," do not obey it. If the mind says, "You are alone," do not abandon yourself. Bring the mind back. Say, "I am here." Say, "I am learning." Say, "I am not my thoughts." Say, "I can begin again." I choose peace over self-punishment. The more you practice this, the more your mind begins to trust you. It begins to understand that you are no longer going to attack yourself every time life becomes difficult. It begins to feel safer inside your own body. It begins to stop expecting cruelty from within. And this safety is powerful. When your mind feels safe, you can think clearly. When your heart feels safe, you can heal more deeply. When your inner voice becomes safer, you can take responsibility without shame. You can face your weaknesses without hating yourself. You can look at your past without drowning in it. This is what daily training gives you. It gives you the ability to live with yourself in a peaceful way, because you are always with your mind. You can leave a place. You can stop talking to a person. You can close a door, but you cannot escape your own mind. Wherever you go, your inner voice goes with you. So make that voice wise. Make that voice gentle. Make that voice strong. Make that voice peaceful. Do not allow the world to be the only teacher of your mind. The world will teach you to hurry. Buddhism teaches you to breathe. The world will teach you to compare. Buddhism teaches you to return to your own path. The world will teach you to chase approval. Buddhism teaches you to find peace within. The world will teach you to fear silence. Buddhism teaches you that silence can heal. Train your mind before the world trains it for you. Because if you do not choose what enters your mind, many things will enter without permission. If you do not choose what you repeat, old pain will repeat itself. If you do not choose your inner words, fear may choose them for you. But when you become awake, you begin to choose. You choose peace in the morning. You choose patience after mistakes. You choose awareness during fear. You choose compassion during pain. You choose truth when the mind exaggerates. You choose hope when old stories return. This is not always easy, but it is always worth practicing. One day you will see the result. You will face a situation that once would have broken you, and you will notice that your mind responds differently. It still feels pain, but it does not collapse. It still feels fear, but it does not run blindly. It still feels sadness, but it does not turn sadness into self-hatred. You will realize that the practice has been working quietly. Every peaceful sentence mattered. Every mindful breath mattered. Every moment of awareness mattered. Every time you chose not to talk down to yourself, you were building a different mind. And this is the beauty of the path. Change does not always happen loudly. Sometimes the deepest change happens quietly. Inside the sentences you stop repeating and the new words you begin to believe. So train your mind every day. Before the world fills it with fear. Before comparison steals your peace. Before old pain writes your story again. Before self-criticism becomes your morning habit. Train it with wisdom. Train it with compassion. Train it with awareness. Train it with kind and honest words. Tell your mind, "I will not let you become a battlefield." Tell your mind, "I will guide you back to peace." Tell your mind, "I will not believe every painful thought." Tell your mind, "I will not speak to myself like an enemy." Tell your mind, "I am allowed to heal." Because your mind believes what you tell it. And if you keep telling it words that are wise, patient, and peaceful, it will slowly begin to become a place where you can finally rest. That is the real training. Not escaping life, not avoiding pain, not pretending everything is perfect, but learning to meet each moment with a mind that is awake, gentle, and strong. And when your mind becomes trained in this way, the world may still be loud, but it will not own you. Life may still change, but it will not destroy your center. Thoughts may still appear, but they will not become your master. You will know how to return. You will know how to breathe. You will know how to speak peace. You will know how to guide yourself home. 10. Do not let your inner voice become your life. Sentence 1 of the most dangerous things about negative self-talk is that, slowly, it can begin to feel like a life sentence. A thought appears in your mind, and at first it is only a thought. But when you repeat it again and again, it begins to feel like truth. Then that truth begins to feel like identity. Then that identity begins to feel like a prison you cannot escape. You may begin by saying, I made a mistake. But if you are not careful, the mind changes it into, I am a mistake. You may begin by saying, this moment is difficult. But the mind changes it into, my whole life is difficult. You may begin by saying, I failed at something. But the mind changes it into, I am a failure. This is how the mind can turn one painful moment into a whole identity. Buddhism teaches us to see clearly. It teaches us to look at life without adding extra suffering to it. Pain may happen, mistakes may happen, loss may happen, disappointment may happen. But the mind often takes what happened and builds a much heavier story around it. The event may be painful, but the story can make it unbearable. Someone leaves and the mind says, I am unlovable. Something fails, I will never succeed. You feel sad, and the mind says, I will always be unhappy. You feel behind and the mind says, my life is wasted. But these are not facts. These are conclusions created by pain. And pain is not always a wise teacher when the mind is not aware. Pain can make everything look darker than it really is. Pain can make temporary moments feel permanent. Pain can make one chapter feel like the whole book. This is why you must not let your inner voice become your life sentence. A sentence is something that declares what must be. It sounds final. It sounds closed. It sounds like there is no room for change. And many people speak to themselves in this way without noticing it. They say, I will always be like this. They say nothing good ever happens to me. They say I can never change. They say I am not meant for peace. These words close the door of the mind. But Buddhism reminds us that everything is changing. Nothing stays the same forever. Your thoughts change. Your emotions change. Your body changes. Your relationships change. Your understanding changes. Your life changes. Even the pain you feel today is not exactly the same as the pain you felt yesterday. Everything is moving, shifting, arising, and passing away. So why speak to yourself as if you are fixed forever? Why say, I will always be broken, when even brokenness changes? Why say, I can never heal, when healing can begin with one breath? Why say, my life is over, when you are still alive, still breathing, still learning, and still able to choose one new step? The mind believes what you tell it, so never give your mind a hopeless sentence and expect it to live with courage. Never tell your mind that change is impossible and expect it to look for a new path. Never tell your heart that it is worthless and expect it to feel safe inside you. Your words are powerful. They can either lock the door or they can open it. When you say, I am hopeless, you are locking the door. When you say, I am struggling, but I can take one step, you are opening the door. When you say, I am ruined, you are locking the door. When you say, I am hurting, but I am still healing, you are opening the door. When you say, I can never change, you are locking the door. When you say, it may take time, but I can begin today, you are opening the door. This is not about pretending life is easy. It is about refusing to speak to yourself in a way that removes all possibility. It is about refusing to turn pain into a permanent identity. It is about refusing to let one hard season decide the meaning of your whole life. Many people are not actually trapped by life itself. They are trapped by the story they keep repeating about life. They have suffered, so they say, life is only suffering. They have been rejected, so they say, no one will ever value me. They have made mistakes, so they say, I destroy everything. They have felt lonely, so they say, I will always be alone. But the Buddhist path teaches you to pause before believing these stories. Ask yourself, is this the truth, or is this my pain speaking? Ask yourself, is this wisdom, or is this fear trying to sound certain? Ask yourself, am I describing one moment, or am I condemning my whole life? This question is very important because the mind often exaggerates when it is hurt. It uses words like always, never, nothing, everything, nobody, and forever. These words make suffering heavier. They make the mind feel trapped. They make a temporary problem feel like a permanent reality. For example, if you say, "I always fail," your mind stops remembering the times you succeeded. If you say, "Nobody cares about me," your mind ignores even small signs of care. If you say, "Everything is ruined," your mind becomes blind to what can still be repaired. If you say, "I will never be happy," your mind stops noticing the small moments of peace that are still possible. The words you choose decide what your mind looks for. If you give your mind a hopeless sentence, it will search for proof of hopelessness. If you give your mind a healing sentence, it will search for a way forward. So be careful with sentences that sound final. Do not say, "I am a failure." Say, "I failed at something, and I can learn from it." Do not say, "I am unlovable." Say, "I feel hurt, but my worth is not destroyed by someone's actions." Do not say, "My life is finished." Say, "This chapter is painful, but my story is still." Do not say, "I am weak." Say, "I am tired, but I have survived difficult days before." These better sentences do not deny reality. They describe reality more wisely. They leave space for growth. They leave space for healing. They leave space for the truth that life is bigger than one painful moment. Buddhism teaches the middle way. The middle way is not denial, and it is not self-destruction. It does not say, "Everything is perfect," when things are painful, but it also does not say, "Everything is ruined," when one thing has gone wrong. It sees clearly, it speaks honestly, it responds with wisdom. This is the kind of voice you must build inside yourself. A voice that is honest but not cruel. A voice that is firm but not hateful. A voice that sees mistakes but does not turn them into identity. A voice that admits pain but does not call pain permanent. A voice that helps you rise, not one that buries you deeper. Think about how many times you have survived moments you once thought you could not survive. There were days when you felt like you would never smile again, but eventually you did. There were problems that felt too heavy, but somehow you moved through them. There were seasons when you felt lost, but you still found a way to continue. Your mind may forget this when it is afraid, but your life carries proof that change is possible. You are not the same person you were years ago. You have learned things, you have endured things, you have understood things, you have outgrown some pain, you have survived some endings. You have kept going through days when nobody knew how heavy your heart felt. So when your inner voice says, "You cannot handle this," do not accept that as final. Remind yourself, "I have handled difficult things before. I may not know the whole way yet, but I can take the next step." When your inner voice says, "You are stuck forever," remind yourself, "Nothing is forever. This feeling is moving. This moment is changing. I can change with it." When your inner voice says you are not enough, remind yourself, "I do not need to be perfect to be worthy of compassion. I am learning, I am growing, I am still becoming." This is not weakness. This is mental discipline. It takes discipline to stop repeating the old sentence. It takes discipline to pause before believing fear. It takes discipline to answer your own mind with wisdom, instead of allowing it to drag you into the same pain. Many people believe discipline means being hard on yourself, but the deepest discipline is not cruelty. The deepest discipline is awareness. It is the ability to notice your own mind and guide it back again and again. When the mind wants to condemn you, guide it back to truth. When the mind wants to shame you, guide it back to compassion. When the mind wants to give up, guide it back to one small step. When the mind wants to make pain permanent, guide it back to impermanence. This is how you stop your inner voice from becoming a life sentence. You remind yourself that no thought has the right to decide your entire life unless you keep giving it that power. A thought may appear, but you can question it. A feeling may rise, but you can breathe through it. A memory may return, but you can choose not to live inside it forever. A mistake may happen, but you can refuse to let it become your name. This is freedom. Not freedom from every difficult thought, but freedom from blindly believing every difficult thought. Not freedom from pain, but freedom from turning pain into identity. Not freedom from mistakes, but freedom from speaking to yourself as if mistakes make you worthless. There is a powerful moment that can change everything. It is the moment between the thought and your belief. A negative thought appears and says, "You are hopeless." Before, you may have believed it immediately, but now you pause, you breathe, you see it, you say, "This is a thought. This is not a life sentence." That one pause is the beginning of a new life, because in that pause you are no longer controlled by the old voice. You are awake, you are present, you are choosing, you are not letting the mind drag you without awareness. The more you practice this pause, the stronger you become. At first you may only notice after the negative thought has already hurt you. That is okay. Noticing later is still progress. Then, with practice, you begin to notice sooner. You catch the thought while it is still forming. You hear the old sentence and say, "No, I do not need to repeat this today." And slowly the old sentence loses strength. This is how the mind is retrained. Not in one day, not with one perfect meditation, not with one motivational sentence, but through daily awareness, daily correction, daily compassion, and daily patience. Every time you choose a wiser sentence, you weaken the prison. Every time you refuse to call yourself worthless, you weaken the prison. Every time you say, "This is painful but not permanent," you weaken the prison. Every time you say, "I am learning," you weaken the prison. Every time you say, "I can begin again," you open the door a little more. And one day, the sentence that once controlled you will not feel as powerful. It may still appear, but it will not own you. It may still speak, but it will not sound like truth. It may still try to pull you back, but you will have learned how to stand apart from it. You will say, "I know this voice. This is the voice of old pain. This is the voice of fear. This is the voice of habit. But it is not the voice I choose to follow." This is the wisdom of the Buddhist path. It teaches you not to hate the mind, but to understand it. It teaches you not to fight every thought with anger, but to observe it with clarity. It teaches you not to be ashamed of suffering, but to stop feeding suffering with unconscious belief. When you understand your mind, you become less afraid of it. You begin to see that the mind creates stories. Some stories are helpful, some stories are harmful, some stories heal, some stories wound. But they are still stories, and if a story is making you suffer, you can rewrite it with awareness. Instead of the story, "I am damaged forever," you can begin the story, "I have been hurt, but healing is possible." Instead of the story, "I always lose," you can begin the story, "I have lost before, but I am still learning how to live." Instead of the story, "I am not enough," you can begin the story, "I am enough to begin and I can grow from here." Instead of the story, "My past owns me," you can begin the story, "My past shaped me, but it does not have to control every step I take now." This new story may not feel natural at first. That is normal. The old story had time to become familiar. The new story needs practice. Do not reject it just because it feels unfamiliar. Peace often feels unfamiliar to a mind that has lived in conflict for a long time. Kindness can feel strange to a heart that has been trained by criticism. Hope can feel uncomfortable to someone who has been disappointed many times. But unfamiliar does not mean false. Sometimes the truth feels strange because you have been believing pain for too long. So give the new voice time. Repeat it gently, return to it often. Let it become part of you. There will still be difficult days. There will still be moments when the old voice becomes loud. There will still be times when you feel like you are falling back into old thinking. But do not use those moments to punish yourself. Use them to practice. If you catch yourself saying, "I am hopeless," pause and say, "This is an old sentence. I do not need to live under it." If you catch yourself saying, "I always ruin everything," pause and say, "I made a mistake, but I am not my mistake." If you catch yourself saying, "I will never be happy," pause and say, "This feeling is heavy, but feelings change." If you catch yourself saying, "I am not worthy," pause and say, "My worth does not disappear because I am struggling." This is how you become free from the harsh sentences in your mind. You do not become free by pretending they never appear. You become free by refusing to treat them as final truth. A negative thought is not a command. A painful feeling is not a prophecy. A harsh inner voice is not wisdom. An old wound is not your identity. Remember this, because the mind can sound very convincing when it is afraid. Fear speaks with certainty. Shame speaks with certainty. Pain speaks with certainty. They say, this is how it will always be. But Buddhism teaches that certainty created by fear is not always truth. Often, it is only attachment to a painful view. You can release that view. You can release the view that you are broken beyond repair. You can release the view that your mistakes define you. You can release the view that your future must look like your past. You can release the view that you must be cruel to yourself in order to grow. Releasing does not mean everything changes instantly. It means you stop holding the harmful belief so tightly. It means you loosen your grip. It means you allow another possibility to enter the mind. Maybe I can heal. Maybe I can change. Maybe this is not the end. Maybe I am more than my worst thought. Maybe peace is possible for me. These small openings are powerful. A closed mind says, never. An open mind says, maybe. And sometimes maybe is the beginning of healing. Maybe I can speak differently to myself. Maybe I can forgive myself. Maybe I can learn from this. Maybe I can start again. Maybe I do not have to carry this sentence forever. This is how the heart begins to breathe again. You must understand that your inner voice is not just background noise. It is shaping the way you walk through life. If your inner voice constantly tells you that you are unworthy, you may accept less than you deserve. If it tells you that you will fail, you may stop trying before you begin. If it tells you that you are weak, you may forget the strength you already carry. If it tells you that you are alone, you may close your heart even when love is near. But when your inner voice becomes wise, your life begins to open. You take small chances again. You speak to yourself with more patience. You recover faster from mistakes. You stop treating every failure like a final ending. You begin to see yourself as someone who is growing, not someone who is condemned. This is the change that matters. Not just changing what happens outside, but changing the voice that meets everything inside. Because two people can face the same difficulty and experience it very differently, depending on the voice inside them. One person makes a mistake and says, I am worthless. Another person makes the same mistake and says, this hurts, but I can learn. One person faces rejection and says, I will never be loved. Another person faces rejection and says, this is painful, but my worth remains. One person feels lost and says, my life is over. Another person feels lost and says, I do not know the way yet, but I can take one step. The difference is not that one person has no pain. The difference is that one person adds a life sentence to the pain, and the other person leaves room for healing. Leave room for healing. Leave room for change. Leave room for the person you are becoming. Do not speak as if your story has already ended. Do not speak as if today's pain has the authority to define tomorrow. Do not speak as if your lowest moment knows your highest possibility. You are still alive. That means the story is still moving. The path is still unfolding. The mind is still capable of learning. The heart is still capable of softening. The future is still not fully written. So do not write it with hopeless words. Write it with awareness. Write it with compassion. Write it with patience. Write it with courage. Write it with the quiet belief that even now, even after mistakes, even after pain, even after confusion, you can begin again. This is the final teaching of this lesson. Never let your inner voice become the judge that condemns your whole life. Let it become the guide that helps you return to wisdom. Let it become the friend that reminds you to breathe. Let it become the teacher that corrects you without cruelty. Let it become the light that shows you the next step, not the darkness that convinces you there is no path. Your mind believes what you tell it. So do not tell it that you are finished. Tell it that you are learning. Do not tell it that you are hopeless. Tell it that healing is possible. Do not tell it that one mistake is your whole identity. Tell it that you can grow from this. Do not tell it that your pain will last forever. Tell it that everything changes, and this too can change. Speak to your mind in a way that gives life back to you. Speak in a way that opens the door. Speak in a way that reminds your heart, I am not trapped inside my worst thought. Because you are not trapped. You are not your harshest sentence. You are not your most painful memory. You are not your lowest moment. You are not the cruel voice that appears inside you. You are the awareness that can hear that voice, question it, soften it, and choose a wiser path. And the moment you understand this, you begin to take your freedom back. One thought at a time, one breath at a time, one kinder sentence at a time, one new beginning at a time. 11. Choose words that help your future self rise. Every word you speak to yourself today is not only affecting who you are right now, it is also shaping the person you are becoming tomorrow. Your inner voice is building your future self, one sentence at a time. If you keep speaking fear, your future self will carry more fear. If you keep speaking shame, your future self will carry more shame. If you keep speaking defeat, your future self will walk with less courage. But if you begin speaking wisdom, patience, compassion, and strength, your future self will slowly begin to rise. This is why you must be careful with the words you use when life becomes difficult. In painful moments, the mind is open and sensitive. The words you repeat during those moments go deep. When you are hurt and you say, "I am worthless," your heart remembers it. When you are tired and you say, "I cannot do anything right," your mind begins to accept it. When you fail and you say, "This is who I am," you plant a painful belief inside your future. But when you are hurt and you say, "This pain is real, but it will not define me," you plant strength. When you are tired and you say, "I need rest, not self-hatred," you plant wisdom. When you fail and you say, "This mistake can teach me," you plant growth. These words may not change the whole situation immediately, but they change the direction of your mind. Buddhism teaches that every moment carries a seed. What you think, what you say, what you repeat, and what you believe all become causes that create results later. Your future is not only shaped by big actions, it is also shaped by small inner habits. A repeated thought becomes a pattern. A repeated pattern becomes a way of living. A way of living becomes the path your life follows. So ask yourself, are the words you speak today helping your future self, or are they making the path heavier? Many people do not realize that they are carrying the weight of words they spoke to themselves years ago. They once said, "I am not good enough," and now they still feel small. They once said, "I will never be confident," and now they still hesitate. They once said, "Nothing good happens to me," and now they struggle to trust good moments when they arrive. This is how old words become old chains. But the beautiful truth is that new words can become new keys. You do not have to keep living under sentences that were created by pain. You do not have to keep repeating what fear taught you. You do not have to keep speaking to yourself the way your worst moments spoke to you. You can begin again. You can choose words that help the person you are becoming. Your future self needs your kindness today. Your future self needs you to stop planting hatred in the mind. Your future self needs you to stop calling yourself names that make healing harder. Your future self needs you to speak in a way that opens the door instead of closing it. Imagine your future self standing in front of you. This person is still becoming. They are not perfect, but they are trying. They are carrying the results of what you practice today. If you spend today repeating, "I am nothing," that future self will have to heal from those words. If you spend today repeating, "I can learn, I can grow, I can begin again," that future self will receive strength from those words. This is why your inner speech is an act of responsibility. You are not only speaking to the person you are now, you are speaking to the person you are becoming. When you tell yourself, "I am a failure," you make tomorrow harder. When you tell yourself, "I made a mistake but I can learn," you make tomorrow lighter. When you tell yourself, "I will never change," you close the path. When you tell yourself, "Change takes time and I can take one step," you open the path. When you tell yourself, "I hate myself," you deepen the wound. When you tell yourself, "I am hurting and I deserve compassion," you begin healing the wound. This is not just positive thinking. This is conscious speech. This is wise inner training. This is learning to use your words as medicine instead of poison. Buddhism teaches right speech. Many people think right speech only means how we speak to others. Do not lie. Do not speak cruelly. Do not create harm with words. Do not speak carelessly. But right speech must also be practiced inside. The way you speak to yourself matters because you are also a living being. you are also deserving of non-harm. You are also worthy of truth spoken with compassion. If you would not speak cruelly to someone you love, do not speak cruelly to the mind that must carry you through life. If you would not tell a child, you are hopeless, do not tell yourself that. If you would not tell a friend, your life is over because you made a mistake, do not tell yourself that. If you would not tell someone in pain, you are weak for feeling this, do not tell yourself that. Your words must become a place where healing can begin. This does not mean you avoid honesty. It means your honesty must be useful. Cruels were not always honest. Sometimes they are only pain pretending to be truth. When you say, I am useless, that is not honesty. That is a wound speaking. When you say, I always fail, that is not wisdom. That is fear exaggerating. When you say nothing will ever change, that is not reality. That is a tired mind predicting a future it cannot see. True honesty sounds different. True honesty says, I am struggling right now. True honesty says, I made a mistake. True honesty says, this habit is hurting me. True honesty says, I need to change. True honesty says, I am not where I want to be yet. But true honesty does not say, I am worthless. It does not say, I am hopeless. It does not say, I should hate myself. Those words do not help growth. They only create more suffering. A wise inner voice can tell the truth without destroying the heart. It can say, you need to take responsibility. While still saying, you are capable of learning. It can say, this choice was not good, while still saying, your life is not finished. It can say, you need discipline, while still saying, you do not need cruelty. It can say, you must change direction, while still saying, you are worthy of peace. This is the kind of voice that helps your future self rise. Many people are afraid to speak kindly to themselves because they think kindness will make them lazy. They think if they stop attacking themselves, they will stop improving. But look honestly at your life. Has self-hate truly brought you peace? Has calling yourself worthless truly made you strong? Has repeating fear truly helped you live fully? Maybe harshness pushed you for a while, but it also exhausted you. Maybe shame made you move, but it did not heal you. Maybe fear made you work harder, but it did not make you feel free. The Buddhist path teaches a deeper way. It teaches effort without hatred, discipline without cruelty, awareness without judgment, growth without self-destruction. You can improve because you love your life, not because you hate yourself. You can become disciplined because your future matters, not because your present self is worthless. You can change habits because you deserve peace, not because you deserve punishment. This changes everything. When growth comes from self-hatred, you are always running away from yourself. But when growth comes from compassion, you are walking toward your higher self. When discipline comes from fear, you feel tense and heavy. But when discipline comes from wisdom, you feel steady and clear. When change comes from shame, you never feel good enough. But when change comes from self-respect, every small step becomes meaningful. So choose words that create self-respect. Say, I am responsible for my healing. Say, I can correct myself without attacking myself. Say, I can grow slowly and still grow deeply. Say, I am allowed to learn from what hurt me. Say, I will not use my own voice to keep myself wounded. These words are not weak, they are powerful. They create a mind that can king without breaking itself. Your future self needs a mind like that, because life will test you. There will be days when things do not happen the way you hoped. There will be people who misunderstand you. There will be moments when you feel tired of trying. There will be old patterns that return. There will be mistakes that disappoint you. There will be seasons when progress feels slow. In those moments, the words you have practiced will rise inside you. If you have practiced self-hatred, self-hatred will rise. If you have practiced fear, fear will rise. If you have practiced wisdom, wisdom will rise. If you have practiced peace, peace will rise. This is why daily practice matters. You are preparing your inner voice before life becomes difficult. You are training your mind so that when pain comes, your first response is not destruction. Your first response becomes awareness. Your first response becomes breath. Your first response becomes, I can meet this moment without abandoning myself. That is a powerful way to live. Imagine making a mistake and not immediately attacking yourself. Imagine feeling sad and not being ashamed of your sadness. Imagine feeling behind and not using comparison to destroy your peace. Imagine facing uncertainty and still speaking calmly to your mind. Imagine hearing an old negative thought and saying, "I do not live under that sentence anymore." That is freedom. And it begins with the words you choose now. You may not control everything that happens in life, but you can begin to control how you speak to yourself about what happens. You may not control other people's opinions, but you can control whether you turn their opinions into your identity. You may not control every emotion that appears, but you can control whether you meet that emotion with cruelty or compassion. This is where your power lives. Not in forcing life to become perfect. Not in making sure nobody criticizes you. Not in avoiding every painful feeling, but in choosing the voice you use when life is imperfect. When you feel rejected, choose words that protect your worth. Say, "This hurts, but rejection does not decide my value." When you feel behind, choose words that protect your path. Say, "I am moving at my pace, I can still grow." When you feel afraid, choose words that protect your courage. Say, "Fear is here, but I can take one small step." When you feel ashamed, choose words that protect your heart. Say, "I made a mistake, but I do not need to become my mistake." When you feel lost, choose words that protect your hope. Say, "I do not know the whole way, but I can take the next step." These sentences are like small lamps on a dark path. They may not light the entire road at once, but they give enough light for one step. And sometimes, one step is all you need. Buddhism often reminds us to return to the present moment. The present moment is where change happens. You cannot change yesterday. You cannot fully control tomorrow. But you can choose your next breath. You can choose your next thought. You can choose your next sentence. You can choose the way you meet yourself right now. Right now, you can stop repeating a sentence that harms you. Right now, you can choose not to call yourself weak. Right now, you can choose not to turn pain into identity. Right now, you can choose not to speak from fear. Right now, you can plant a better seed. Do not underestimate the power of one better sentence. A life does not change all at once. It changes in small moments when awareness enters. It changes when you are about to say, "I am nothing," but instead you pause and say, "I am hurting." It changes when you are about to say, "I always fail," but instead you say, "I am still learning." It changes when you are about to give up on yourself, but instead you say, "Let me take one more step." These small changes are not small to the mind. They are proof that a new path is being created. At first, your mind may resist. It may say you do not believe these words. It may say this is pointless. It may say you have been negative for too long. But remember, the mind believes what it hears repeatedly. The old voice became strong because it was repeated. The new voice will also become strong through repetition. Do not wait until you fully believe kind words before you speak them. Speak them so that belief can grow. Do not wait until you feel peaceful before you practice peace. Practice peace so that peace can become familiar. Do not wait until you feel worthy before you stop insulting yourself. Stop insulting yourself so that worthiness can be felt again. This is how training works. You practice before it feels natural. You return before it feels easy. You choose wisely before the mind fully trusts the new way. And slowly, the mind changes. Your future self is listening to what you practice today. That future self is waiting for you to stop planting the same painful seeds. That future self is waiting for you to speak with more care. That future self is waiting for you to build an inner voice that can support the life you want to create. So ask yourself each morning, what words do I want my future self to inherit from me? Do you want your future self to inherit fear, shame, and self-hatred? Or do you want your future self to inherit patience, courage, and peace? Every day you are passing something forward. When you repeat, "I cannot," you pass forward limitation. When you repeat, "I can learn," you pass forward possibility. When you repeat, "I am broken," you pass forward pain. When you repeat, "I am healing," you pass forward hope. When you repeat, "I hate myself," you pass forward suffering. When you repeat, "I am worthy of compassion," you pass forward peace. Choose what you pass forward. Your future self will thank you for every moment you refuse to speak cruelty. Your future self will thank you for every time you chose patience over shame. Your future self will thank you for every breath where you paused and did not believe the harsh thought. Your future self will thank you for every small sentence that helped you keep going. Even if nobody else sees these moments, they matter. The world may not see when you choose not to attack yourself. The world may not clap when you replace fear with wisdom. The world may not notice when you sit quietly and breathe through a painful thought. But your mind notices, your heart notices, your future notices. This quiet work becomes part of you. One day you will face something difficult, and you will realize you are not speaking to yourself the same way anymore. You will still feel pain, but you will not add hatred. You will still feel fear, but you will not call yourself weak. You will still make mistakes, but you will not turn them into a life sentence. You will say, I can learn from this. You will say, I can breathe through this. You will say, I can begin again. And in that moment, you will understand that all those small words were changing you from inside. This is the beauty of choosing words that help your future self rise. You may not see the result immediately, but the result is being built. Like drops of water slowly filling a bowl, every kind sentence adds something. Every peaceful thought adds something. Every moment of awareness adds something. And with time, the bowl becomes full. Your inner world becomes different. You become less afraid of your own mind. You become more patient with your healing. You become more willing to try again. You become more steady during hard days. You become more gentle with your past. You become more hopeful about your future. Not because life becomes perfect, but because your relationship with yourself becomes wiser. This is one of the greatest changes a person can experience. To go from being your own enemy to becoming your own guide. To go from repeating pain to repeating wisdom. To go from destroying your hope to protecting it. To go from speaking like someone who has given up to speaking like someone who still believes growth is possible. Your future self does not need you to be perfect today. Your future self needs you to be aware. Your future self needs you to stop feeding the voice that breaks you. Your future self needs you to choose one better sentence, one better action, one better breath. That is enough for today. The path is walked one step at a time. The mind is trained one thought at a time. Healing happens one moment at a time. Peace becomes familiar one return at a time. So do not say, I must fix my whole life today. Say, I can take one wise step. Do not say, I must become perfect. Say, I can become more aware. Do not say, I have wasted too much time. Say, I can begin where I am. Do not say, it is too late for me. Say, as long as I am breathing, I can choose differently. These words give your future self room to rise. And remember, the future is not only something that happens to you, it is also something you are shaping through your daily thoughts, choices, habits, and words. Every time you speak kindly to yourself, you are building a future where your mind feels safer. Every time you stop repeating fear, you are building a future where courage has more space. Every time you practice awareness, you are building a future where old patterns have less control. This is how you change your life from the inside. Not by forcing everything outside to change first. Not by waiting for someone else to save you. Not by waiting until you feel completely ready. But by choosing right now to stop speaking against your own becoming. Because every harsh word delays healing. Every cruel sentence makes the path heavier. Every hopeless thought closes the mind a little more. But every wise word opens something. Every compassionate sentence softens something. Every patient thought strengthens something. Every peaceful reminder brings you closer to the person you are meant to become. So speak to your future self with love. Tell that future self, I am trying for you. Tell that future self, I will not keep poisoning the mind you must live with. Tell that future self, I will plant better seeds today. Tell that future self, I will choose words that help you stand. Tell that future self, I will not abandon you by giving up on myself now. These words create a bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. And when life becomes hard, walk across that bridge with patience. You do not have to become healed in one day. You do not have to become confident in one day. You do not have to become peaceful in one day. You only have to stop using today's words to make tomorrow's heart heavier. That is a beautiful beginning. So from today, choose your words like you are choosing the future you want to live in. Choose them like seeds. Choose them like medicine. Choose them like small lights. Choose them like gifts you are sending forward to the person you are becoming. If your mind believes everything you tell it, then tell it something that helps your future self rise. Tell it, I am learning. Tell it, I am healing. Tell it, I am becoming stronger. Tell it, I can grow through this. Tell it, I do not need to hate myself to change. Tell it, I am allowed to begin again. Tell it, my future is not closed. Tell it, peace is possible for me. And keep telling it, not only when life is easy, but especially when life is difficult. Because difficult moments are when your mind needs your wisest words the most. Do not let fear write the message your future self must carry. Do not let shame become the voice that follows you into tomorrow. Do not let one painful season become the language of your whole life. Choose better words. Choose healing words. Choose peaceful words. Choose words that make the next version of you stronger, softer, wiser, and more free. Because the way you speak to yourself today becomes the strength your future self stands on tomorrow. And one day, the person you become will look back with gratitude and say, thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for choosing kinder words. Thank you for planting peace when fear was easier. Thank you for helping me rise. 12. Stop feeding the voice that makes you suffer. There is a voice inside the mind that becomes stronger every time you feed it. If you feed fear, fear grows. If you feed anger, anger grows. If you feed shame, grows. If you feed self-hatred, self-hatred grows. But if you stop feeding these voices, they slowly begin to lose power. This is one of the most important things to understand about the mind. A negative thought does not always stay strong by itself. It stays strong because you keep giving it attention, belief, emotion, and repetition. The thought comes once, and instead of letting it pass, you hold it, you repeat it, you argue with it, you build a story around it. You remember old pain that matches it. You search for proof that it is true, and without realizing it, you are feeding the very voice that is making you suffer. For example, the mind says, you are not good enough. If you are not aware, you may begin to feed that thought. You may remember every mistake you made. You may compare yourself to someone else. You may think about every person who rejected you. You may tell yourself, yes, maybe I really am not enough. And slowly, one thought becomes a whole storm. But Buddhism teaches that you do not have to feed every thought that appears. A thought can come, but you do not have to welcome it. A fear can rise, but you do not have to follow it. A memory can appear, but you do not have to live inside it again. A harsh inner voice can speak, but you do not have to answer it with belief. This is where freedom begins. Many people think freedom means never having painful thoughts again. But real freedom is not the absence of every negative thought. Real freedom is learning not to feed those thoughts until they control your whole life. A painful thought may appear, but you can choose not to make it bigger. You can choose not to turn it into your identity. You can choose not to repeat it all day like a prayer of suffering. If the Buddha says you are useless, you do not have to add, yes, I am useless, and I always ruin everything. You can pause and say, this is a painful thought. I do not need to feed it. If the mind says, nothing will change, you do not have to add, yes, my whole life is stuck forever. You can pause and say, this is fear speaking. I can take one small step.
The mindset.
You failed again. You do not have to add, I am a failure. You can pause and say, I made a mistake, but I can learn from this. This pause is very powerful. It may look small, but it changes the direction of the mind. Before the pause, the mind is running automatically. After the pause, awareness enters. And when awareness enters, you are no longer completely controlled by the thought. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows through attachment. When you hold tightly to a painful thought, it becomes heavier. When you identify with it, it becomes part of who you think you are. When you repeat it, it becomes familiar. But when you observe it and let it pass, it begins to lose its grip. Think of a fire. A fire needs fuel to keep burning. If you keep adding wood, the fire grows. If you stop adding wood, the fire slowly dies down. Negative self-talk is the same. Every time you repeat the same painful sentence, you add fuel. Every time you believe the harsh voice without questioning it, you add fuel. Every time you replay same old wound, you add fuel. But when you stop feeding it, the fire begins to calm. This does not mean the fire disappears instantly. The mind may still bring old thoughts. The voice may still return. The fear may still whisper. But if you do not keep feeding it, it cannot burn with the same strength forever. So ask yourself, what am I feeding inside myself every day? Am I feeding peace or am I feeding panic? Am I feeding wisdom or am I feeding fear? Am I feeding healing or am I feeding old wounds? Am I feeding the voice that helps me rise or the voice that keeps me trapped? This question is not meant to make you feel guilty. It is meant to wake you up. Because many people are suffering not only because of what happened to them, but because of what they keep feeding after it happened. They were hurt once, but they replay it 1,000 times. They failed once, but they punish themselves for years. They were criticized once, but they turn that criticism into their own inner voice. Pain may enter your life, but you do not have to keep serving it food every day. You do not have to wake up and feed yesterday's fear. You do not have to go to sleep repeating old shame. You do not have to carry every insult that was ever spoken to you. You do not have to keep proving to yourself that you are broken. At some point, healing begins when you stop giving your energy to the thoughts that destroy your peace. This does not mean you ignore your pain. Buddhism does not teach denial. It does not say, pretend nothing hurts. It teaches you to see pain clearly, but not to become a prisoner of it. There is a difference between feeling pain and feeding pain. Feeling pain is human. Feeding pain means repeating the same thoughts that make the wound deeper. You can say, this hurt me, without saying, my whole life is ruined. You can say, I made a mistake, without saying, I am worthless. You can say, I feel afraid, without saying, I cannot do anything. You can say, I am sad today, without saying, I will never be happy. This is how you stop feeding suffering. You tell the truth, but you do not add extra poison to the truth. You allow the feeling, but you do not build a prison around it. You admit the wound, but you do not make the wound your entire identity. Many people believe that if they keep thinking about their pain, they will finally solve it. Sometimes reflection helps. Sometimes understanding the past is necessary. But there is a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection brings wisdom. Rumination brings more suffering. Reflection asks, what can I learn this? Rumination says, why did this happen to me again and again and again? Reflection creates clarity. Rumination creates heaviness. You must learn the difference. If a thought helps you understand, heal, or take wise action, it may be useful. If a thought only repeats pain and makes you feel smaller, it is not helping you. If a memory teaches you something and helps you grow, it may have value. If a memory only keeps reopening the wound without wisdom, you may need to stop feeding it. If self-correction helps you become better, it is healthy. If self-attack makes you hate yourself, it is harmful. The mind can trick you into thinking that suffering is useful. It may say, keep worrying, because worry means you care. It may say, keep blaming yourself, because blame will make you better. It may say, keep replaying the past, because maybe you will finally fix it. But endless worry does not create peace. Endless blame does not create growth. Endless replaying does not change the past. At some point you must gently say, enough. I have learned what I can learn. Now I must stop feeding this pain. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. When you stop feeding a painful thought, you are not saying it never existed. You are saying it no longer deserves all your energy. You are saying your peace matters. You are saying your future matters. You are saying your mind is not a place where old suffering can live forever without being questioned. One simple practice is to name the thought when it appears. When the mind says, you are not enough, say, doubt. When the mind says, everything will go wrong, say, this is fear. When the mind says, you should hate yourself, say, this is shame. When the mind says, you can never change, say, this is hopeless thinking. Naming the thought creates distance. It reminds you that the thought is something appearing in the mind, not the whole truth of who you are. You are not self-doubt. Self-doubt is visiting. You are not fear. Fear is arising. You are not shame. Shame is passing through. You are not hopelessness. Hopelessness is a state of mind, and states of mind can change. After naming the thought, breathe. Do not rush to fight it. Do not panic because it appeared. Do not say, "Why am I thinking this again?" That only feeds frustration. Instead, breathe and say, "I see this thought. I do not need to feed it." Then turn your attention towards something wiser. This is very important. You cannot only remove a harmful thought. You must also give the mind a better direction. If you simply say, "Stop thinking negatively," the mind may keep returning to the same place. But if you give it a new sentence, a new breath, a new action, or a new focus, it has somewhere else to go. If the thought says, "I am not enough," guide the mind toward, "I am learning." If the thought says, "I will fail," guide the mind toward, "I can prepare and take one step." If the thought says, "My past defines me," guide the mind toward, "My past shaped me, but it does not own me." If the thought says, "I hate myself," guide the mind toward, "I am in pain and I need compassion." This is not fake. This is training. You are training the mind not to live under every painful voice that appears. You are teaching it that there is another path. At first, the old voice may be louder. That is normal. The old voice has been practiced for a long time. It knows how to return quickly. It knows how to sound convincing. It knows how to use old memories as proof. But do not confuse familiar with true. A thought can feel familiar because you repeated it for years, not because it is wise. The new voice may feel weak in the beginning. It may feel quiet. It may feel strange. But if you feed it, it will grow. Feed patience and patience grows. Feed courage and courage grows. Feed compassion and compassion grows. Feed awareness and awareness grows. Feed peace and peace grows. Every time you choose a wiser response, you are feeding the part of your mind that wants to heal. Every time you refuse to insult yourself, you are feeding self-respect. Every time you stop replaying the same painful story, you are feeding freedom. Every time you return to your breath instead of following fear, you are feeding peace. This is how the mind changes, not by one big moment, but by many small moments of choosing what to feed. You may not notice change immediately, but change is happening. The same way a plant grows quietly under the soil before you see it above the ground, your mind also changes quietly before you notice the result. One day, something will happen that used to break you, and you will realize you are responding differently. You will still feel pain, but you will not feed it the same way. You will still hear the harsh voice, but you will not believe it so quickly. You will still feel fear, but you will not let fear make every decision. That is growth. Growth does not mean the old voice never appears. Growth means it no longer controls you completely. Growth means you recognize it sooner. Growth means you recover faster. Growth means you choose wisdom more often than before. So be patient with yourself. Do not attack yourself for having negative thoughts. That only becomes another form of feeding suffering. You say, "Why am I still negative? Why am I not peaceful yet? What is wrong with me?" And now the mind has created a second layer of pain. First, you had a negative thought. Then you criticized yourself for having the negative thought. This is unnecessary suffering. Instead, when a negative thought appears, speak gently. A painful thought is here. This is part of being human. I can observe it. I can breathe. I can choose not to feed it. This kind of response is soft, but it is powerful. It does not make the thought stronger. It does not create shame. It does not turn the thought into your identity. It simply brings awareness, and awareness is the beginning of release. The more aware you become, the more you see how often the mind asks for fuel. It wants you to worry. It wants you to replay. It wants you to compare. It wants you to judge. It wants you to imagine the worst. It wants you to repeat the same painful sentence. But awareness allows you to say, "Not today. I see what is happening." When comparison appears, you can say, "I will not feed this." When regret appears, you can say, "I will not feed this." When shame appears, you can say, "I will not feed this." When self-hatred appears, you can say, "I will not feed this." Then you return to what is real in this moment. You return to the breath. You return to the body. You return to the next step. You return to kindness. You return to truth. This returning is one of the deepest practices. The mind will wander into suffering again and again. That is not failure. The practice is to return again and again. Every return is an act of strength. Every return is a refusal to let suffering become your permanent home. Do not underestimate the power of not feeding a thought. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not argue with the voice, not follow it, not prove it wrong for hours, not build a new story around it. Just see it, breathe, and let it pass. A cloud does not need your argument to move across the sky. A wave does not need your permission to rise and fall. A thought does not need to become your life just because it appeared. Let it come. Let it be seen. Let it go. And if it returns, see it again. This is practice. Many people suffer because they think every thought needs an answer. But some thoughts do not need an answer. Some thoughts need space. Some thoughts need silence. Some thoughts need to be seen as old habits, not meaningful messages. Some thoughts are like echoes. They repeat because the mind is used to them, not because they carry truth. When the mind says, "You are worthless," you do not need to debate with it for an hour. You can say, "This is an old echo. I will not feed it." When the mind says, "You will never heal," you can say, "This is fear trying to predict the future. I will not feed it." When the mind says, "You should give up," you can say, "This is tiredness speaking. I will rest, but I will not abandon myself." This is how you respond with wisdom. You stop treating every painful thought like a teacher. Some thoughts are not teachers. Some thoughts are traps. Some thoughts do not come to guide you. They come because the mind is repeating what it has practiced. Awareness helps you know the difference. A wise thought brings clarity, even if it is uncomfortable. A harmful thought brings shame, hopelessness, and self-hatred. A wise thought helps you take responsibility. A harmful thought makes you feel like your life has no value. A wise thought says, "This needs to change." A harmful thought says, "You are worthless." Learn to recognize the difference, and you will stop feeding the wrong voice. Your mind is not your enemy, but it can become confused. It can learn painful patterns. It can protect you in unhealthy ways. It can repeat fear because it thinks fear will keep you safe. It can repeat shame because it thinks shame will make you better. It can repeat worry because it thinks worry will prepare you for pain. But you can guide it. You can say, "Mind, I understand you are afraid, but I do not need fear to control me." You can say, "Mind, I know you want to protect me, but cruelty is not protection." You can say, "Mind, I hear the old pain, but we are not living there anymore." You can say, "Mind, I choose to feed peace now." This gentle guidance is powerful because it does not create more war inside. You are not fighting the mind with hatred. You are leading it with awareness. You are becoming a compassionate guide for your own inner world. And this is very Buddhist in spirit. The path is not about violently destroying parts of yourself. It is about seeing clearly, understanding deeply, and letting go wisely. You do not need to hate the fearful part of you. You need to stop letting it drive your whole life. You do not need to hate the wounded part of you. You need to stop letting it write your entire identity. You do not need to hate the negative voice. You need to stop feeding it until it becomes your master. Letting go does not always happen all at once. Sometimes letting go means not repeating the thought today. Sometimes letting go means choosing not to replay the memory tonight. Sometimes letting go means refusing to use one mistake as proof that you are hopeless. Sometimes letting go means taking your attention away from what hurts you and placing it on what heals you. Where you place your attention matters. Attention is food for the mind. If you keep placing attention on fear, fear grows. If you keep placing attention on your mistakes, shame grows. If you keep placing attention on comparison, dissatisfaction grows. If you keep placing attention on gratitude, peace grows. If you keep placing attention on growth, courage grows. If you keep placing attention on compassion, healing grows. So choose carefully what you give your attention to. This does not mean you ignore problems. It means you do not worship them. It means you see them clearly, respond wisely, and then return to balance. A problem deserves your attention when action is needed, but it does not deserve to live in your mind all day and all night, stealing your peace even when there is nothing more to do. If something can be changed, take one wise step. If something cannot be changed right now, breathe and release the extra suffering. If something must be learned, learn it. If something must be forgiven, begin slowly. If something must be accepted, soften around it. But do not keep feeding the voice that says, because this happened, you can never be peaceful again. That voice is not wisdom. Life can hurt you, but your inner voice can either help you heal or keep the wound open. If someone hurt you in the past, do not continue their work by speaking cruelly to yourself now. If life disappointed you, do not deepen the disappointment by telling yourself that nothing good can ever happen again. If you made mistakes, do not turn those mistakes into a permanent name. Stop feeding the voice that makes suffering endless. Feed the voice that says, I can learn. Feed the voice that says, I can heal. Feed the voice that says, I can take one breath. Feed the voice that says, I can begin again. Feed the voice that says, I do not need to destroy myself to grow. This is how you slowly build an inner life that supports you instead of harms you. One day you will notice that the negative voice is still there sometimes, but it does not sound as powerful. It may knock on the door, but you do not open so quickly. It may speak, but you do not immediately believe. It may bring old stories, but you do not sit with them for hours. You see them, you breathe, you choose again. This frees you in daily life, not a perfect mind, not a life without pain, not a heart that never feels fear, but a mind that knows how to stop feeding its own suffering, a heart that knows how to return to compassion, a person who understands that every thought does not deserve belief, every fear does not deserve obedience, and every inner voice does not deserve fuel. So from today, watch what you feed. When you wake up, feed peace. When you make a mistake, feed patience. When you feel afraid, feed courage. When you feel ashamed, feed compassion. When you feel lost, feed one small step. When your mind becomes loud, feed silence. When your heart becomes heavy, feed gentleness. Do not feed the voice that tells you your life is over. Do not feed the voice that tells you you are nothing. Do not feed the voice that tells you you cannot change. Do not feed the voice that turns one painful moment into your whole identity. Your mind believes what you tell it, but it also grows from what you feed it. So feed it words that help it heal. Feed it thoughts that open the door. Feed it silence that calms the heart. Feed it wisdom that brings you back to the present moment. And when the old voice returns, remember this simple truth. You do not have to give it your energy. You can see it. You can name it. You can breathe through it. You can let it pass. You can choose another voice. You can choose the voice of peace. You can choose the voice of compassion. You can choose the voice of wisdom. You can choose the voice that helps you live, because the voice you feed becomes the voice that leads you. And if you keep feeding the voice of healing, one day it will become stronger than the voice that once made you suffer. 13. Become gentle with the mind that has been trying to survive. Sometimes you speak harshly to yourself because you forget how much your mind has already carried. You forget the silent battles, the painful memories, the lonely nights, the fear you never spoke about, the disappointments you had to swallow, and the moments when you had to keep going even though you felt tired inside. You look at yourself today and only see what is wrong. You see the habits you still have not changed. You see the mistakes you still regret. You see the confidence you still do not feel. You see the peace you still have not reached. And because of this, you begin to talk down to yourself. You say, why am I still like this? You say, why can't I be better? You say, why am I so weak? You say, what is wrong with me? But Buddhism teaches us to look deeper. Before you judge your mind, understand it. Before you attack yourself, ask what your heart has been through. Before you call yourself weak, remember how long you have been trying to survive. Many of your thoughts did not appear from nowhere. Many of your fears did not appear without a reason. Many of your emotional reactions are not signs that you are broken. They may be signs that your mind has been trying to protect you in the only way it knew. If you were hurt before, your mind may now expect hurt. If you were rejected before, your mind may now fear rejection. If you were criticized before, your mind may now criticize itself first, as if hurting yourself early will protect you from being hurt by others. If you failed before, your mind may now warn you not to try again, because it remembers the pain of falling. This does not mean the mind is always wise. Sometimes the mind protects you in ways that also limit you. Sometimes it creates fear where courage is needed. Sometimes it creates doubt where trust is needed. Sometimes it brings old pain into a new moment. But still, you must understand this clearly. Your mind is not your enemy. Your mind is wounded, trained, conditioned, and trying to survive. So do not meet it with more cruelty. A mind that has been hurt does not heal through hatred. A heart that has been carrying fear does not become peaceful through attack. A person who has been struggling for a long time does not become stronger by being insulted from inside. Healing begins when you become gentle with the mind that has been trying to survive. This gentleness is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the ability to see your pain without becoming angry at yourself for having pain. It is the ability to look at your fear and say, I understand why you are here. It is the ability to look at your sadness and say, you are allowed to be here, but you do not have to control my whole life. It is the ability to look at your mistakes and say, I will learn from you, but I will not turn you into my identity. Many people believe they must hate themselves into becoming better. They think if they punish themselves enough, they will finally change. But this is like shouting at a wounded person and expecting them to heal faster. It does not work. It may create movement for a short time, but it does not create peace. It may force action, but it does not create true transformation. True transformation needs awareness. It needs patience. It needs honesty. It needs discipline. But it also needs gentleness. Buddhism teaches compassion because compassion has the power to soften suffering. Compassion does not deny responsibility. It does not say, do whatever you want. It does not say, never improve. Compassion says, I see your suffering, and I will not add more suffering to it. Compassion says, I see your mistake, and I will help you learn without destroying you. Compassion says, I see your fear, and I will guide you with patience instead of shame. This is the way you must begin speaking to your own mind. When your mind is anxious, do not say, why are you like this? Say, I see that you are afraid. Let us breathe. When your mind is sad, do not say, you are weak. Say, see that something hurts. Let us be gentle. When your mind is filled with regret, do not say, you ruined everything. Say, I see that you wish things had been different. Let us learn and move forward. When your mind is tired, do not say you are lazy. Say, I see that you need rest. Let us take one step at a time. These words change the atmosphere inside you. They create a safe place in the mind. And when the mind feels safe, it becomes easier to grow. When the heart feels safe, it becomes easier to heal. When the inner voice becomes safe, life becomes less heavy. Think of a frightened animal. If you shout at it, chase it, and force it, it will hide or fight. But if you approach it slowly, gently, and patiently, it may begin to trust. Your mind is the same. If you attack it every time it feels fear, it will become more afraid. If you shame it every time it struggles, it will hide more pain. If you hate it every time it brings old thoughts, it will become more restless. But if you approach your mind with awareness and gentleness, slowly it begins to trust you. It begins to understand, I do not have to panic every time something feels difficult. It begins to understand, I do not have to attack myself every time I make a mistake. It begins to understand, I do not have to live inside every painful memory that appears. It begins to understand, I can be guided without being punished. This is how the mind becomes calmer, not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop creating war inside yourself. A big part of suffering comes from fighting what is already happening inside you. Fear appears, and you hate yourself for feeling fear. Sadness appears, and you shame yourself for being sad. Anger appears, and you judge yourself for being angry. A painful thought appears, and you panic because the thought appeared. Now you are not only dealing with the original feeling, you are also dealing with resistance to the feeling. This creates more suffering. Buddhism teaches us to observe what arises, not to cling to it, not to push it away with hatred, but to see it clearly. When fear arises, know fear is here. When sadness arises, know sadness is here. When shame arises, know shame is here. When self-criticism arises, know self-criticism is here. This simple awareness creates space. You are no longer saying, I am fear. You are saying fear is here. You are no longer saying, I am sadness. You are saying sadness is here. You are no longer saying, I am shame. You are saying shame is here. You are no longer saying, I am broken. You are saying, pain is here. This difference is very powerful. When you say, I am fear, fear becomes your identity. But when you say, fear is here, fear becomes an experience passing through the mind. When you say, I am broken, you feel trapped. But when you say, pain is here, you leave room for healing. This is why gentleness matters. Gentleness helps you observe without turning everything into identity. It helps you meet the mind without attacking it. It helps you understand what is happening without drowning in it. Your mind may have learned harshness from the world. Maybe someone spoke to you with anger. Maybe someone made you feel like your feelings were too much. Maybe someone criticized you more than they encouraged you. Maybe someone only noticed your mistakes and never noticed your effort. Maybe life taught you that you had to be hard on yourself to survive. But now you can learn another way. You can become the voice your mind needed long ago. You can become the gentle guide you did not always have. You can become the patient presence that your heart was waiting for. This does not mean you become soft in a careless way. It means you become strong in a peaceful way. You still take responsibility. You still correct your actions. You still improve your habits. You still face your weaknesses. But you do it with compassion. There is a big difference between saying, I need to change because I hate myself, and saying, I need to change because I care about myself. The first sentence creates pain. The second sentence creates growth. There is a big difference between saying, I am terrible for making this mistake, and saying, this mistake is teaching me what I need to understand. The first sentence creates shame. The second sentence creates wisdom. There is a big difference between saying, I am weak because I feel afraid, and saying, fear is here, and I can still take one step. The first sentence creates self-rejection. The second sentence creates courage. This is how gentle speech becomes a form of strength. Many people confuse gentleness with laziness. They think if they are gentle with themselves, they will stop improving. But true gentleness does not remove discipline. It makes discipline healthier. It helps you continue without breaking yourself. It helps you grow without becoming bitter. It helps you face life without turning your own mind into a battlefield. A harsh person may move quickly, but they often burn out. A gentle and disciplined person moves steadily. They do not need to destroy themselves to keep going. They do not need shame to take action. They do not need fear to become better. They move because they understand the value of their life. This is the kind of strength Buddhism points toward. A calm strength, a patient strength, a strength that does not need to shout, a strength that knows how to return to the breath, return to awareness, return to compassion, and return to the present moment. So when your mind becomes loud, do not become louder. When your mind becomes afraid, do not answer with anger. When your mind brings old pain, do not punish it. When your mind feels weak, do not insult it. Meet it gently. Say, I know you are afraid. Say, I know you are tired. Say, I know you are trying to protect me. Say, but we do not need to suffer in the old way anymore. Say, we can breathe. Say, we can choose a wiser response. Say, we can take one step. These words may feel strange at first, especially if you are used to being hard on yourself. Your mind may resist. It may say, this is not enough. It may say, I need to be harsher to change. It may say, kindness will make me weak. But remember, the mind often mistrusts what is unfamiliar. If you've lived in self-criticism for a long time, compassion may feel unnatural. But unnatural does not mean wrong. It only means new. Peace may feel new. Gentleness may feel new. Self-compassion may feel new. But if you practice it, it becomes familiar. A person who has lived in darkness may blink when the light first appears. That does not mean the light is bad. It means the eyes need time to adjust. In the same way, a mind that has lived with harshness may feel uncomfortable when kindness appears. Give it time. Let it adjust. Let it slowly learn that compassion is safe. You do not have to force the mind to become peaceful immediately. You only have to stop adding more violence to it. If you cannot speak loving words yet, begin with neutral words. Instead of saying, "I love myself," if that feels too hard, say, "I am learning to be kinder to myself." Instead of saying, "I am completely healed," say, "I am taking steps toward healing." Instead of saying, "I feel peaceful," say, "I am willing to breathe through this moment." Instead of saying, "Everything is fine," say, "This is difficult, but I can meet it gently." These words are honest and healing. They do not force false happiness. They simply create a softer place for the mind to rest. This is important because healing should not become another performance. You do not need to pretend to be peaceful. You do not need to pretend you never struggle. You do not need to act like every wound is already healed. Buddhism is not about pretending. It is about seeing clear pain. If pain is here, see fear. If sadness is here, see sadness. But see it with compassion, not hatred. When you see your pain with hatred, pain becomes heavier. When you see your pain with compassion, pain begins to soften. This is why you must stop saying, "What is wrong with me?" and begin asking, "What happened inside me that needs understanding?" This question is more gentle, and it opens the door to healing. What is wrong with me creates shame. What needs understanding creates awareness. If your mind is anxious, maybe it needs safety. If your mind is angry, maybe it needs to be heard. If your mind is sad, maybe it needs comfort. If your mind is restless, maybe it needs stillness. If your mind is harsh, maybe it learned harshness and now needs a new teacher. You can become that teacher. You can teach your mind to pause before believing fear. You can teach your mind to breathe before reacting. You can teach your mind to speak with kindness after mistakes. You can teach your mind to release old sentences that no longer serve you. You can teach your mind that it does not have to survive through self-attack anymore. This teaching happens through practice. Not once, but again and again. Each time you respond gently to your own suffering, you are training the mind. Each time you stop insulting yourself, you are training the mind. Each time you choose awareness instead of shame, you are training the mind. Each time you say, "I am hurting, but I will not abandon myself," you are training the mind. And slowly the mind changes. The voice that once attacked becomes softer. The fear that once controlled becomes less powerful. The shame that once defined you begins to loosen. The heart that once expected punishment begins to trust. This is a beautiful transformation. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep. One day, you may make a mistake, and instead of destroying yourself, you will pause and say, "What can I learn?" One day, you may feel sad, and instead of calling yourself weak, you will say, "I need care." One day you may feel afraid, and instead of giving up immediately, you will say, "One step is enough." One day you may remember old pain, and instead of living inside it again, you will say, "This is now, I am here." These moments are signs that your mind is learning safety, and when your mind learns safety, your whole life begins to feel different. You stop reacting to everything as if it is a threat. You stop treating mistakes as proof that you are hopeless. You stop treating emotions as enemies. You stop treating your own humanity as something shameful. You begin to live with yourself more peacefully. This matters because you are the person you live with every day. You wake up with your mind. You sleep with your mind. You work with your mind. You suffer with your mind. You dream with your mind. You grow with your mind. If your mind is always attacking you, life becomes exhausting. But if your mind becomes a place of gentleness and wisdom, even difficult days become easier to carry. So begin building that kind of mind, not by demanding perfection, not by forcing happiness, not by pretending pain does not exist, but by bringing gentleness to whatever arises. When guilt arises, bring gentleness. When fear arises, bring gentleness. When anger arises, bring gentleness. When doubt arises, bring gentleness. When regret arises, bring gentleness. When loneliness arises, bring gentleness. Gentleness does not mean you let every thought control you. It means you do not attack yourself for having thoughts. It means you guide the mind with patience. It means you understand that the mind has habits, and habits need training, not hatred. If a child learning to walk falls down, you do not shout, "You are useless." You help the child stand again. If a person learning a new skill makes mistakes, you do not say, "You will never learn." You encourage practice. If a wounded person moves slowly, you do not insult them for not running. You understand that healing takes time. Why not offer yourself the same wisdom? You are also learning to walk in a new way. You are learning to speak differently. You are learning to think differently. You are learning to respond differently. You are learning to live without turning against yourself. This takes time, so give yourself time. Do not say, "I should already be healed." Say, "I am healing at the pace my heart can handle." Do not say, "I should never feel this again." Say, "This feeling has returned and I can meet it with awareness." Do not say, "I am failing at peace." Say, "Peace is a practice, and I am practicing." Do not say, "I am too broken." Say, "Even broken places can receive light." These words are gentle, but they are not empty. They help the mind stay open. They help the heart continue. They help the future remain possible. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Everything changes. This means your painful patterns can change too. Your harsh inner voice can change. Your relationship with your mind can change. The way you respond to your emotions can change. The way you speak to yourself after mistakes can change. But change needs conditions. If you keep giving the mind the conditions of fear, fear grows. If you keep giving it the conditions of shame, shame grows. If you keep giving it the conditions of self-hatred, self-hatred grows. But if you give it the conditions of patience, awareness, kindness, and discipline, healing grows. Gentleness is one of those conditions. It is like soft rain on dry ground. It does not force the earth open. It slowly nourishes it. It gives life a chance to return. Your heart may also be dry from years of criticism. It may not open immediately. But with enough gentle words, enough patient breaths, enough moments of awareness, something begins to soften. You begin to believe that you are not your pain. You begin to believe that you can change. You begin to believe that you do not need to be perfect to deserve compassion. You begin to believe that the mind can become a friend. This is how healing begins. And remember, being gentle with yourself does not mean you avoid difficult truths. Sometimes gentleness means admitting, "This habit is hurting me." Sometimes gentleness means saying, "I need to stop making excuses." Sometimes gentleness means saying, "I need to apologize." Sometimes gentleness means saying, "I need to take better care of my life." But the tone is different. The energy is different. The purpose is different. Cruelty says, "You are terrible." Gentleness says, "This needs attention." Cruelty says, "You should hate yourself." Gentleness says, "You can learn." Cruelty says, "You are hopeless." Gentleness says, "Begin again." Cruelty breaks the person who needs to grow. Gentleness supports the person who is trying to grow. So choose the voice that supports growth. When you speak to yourself today, remember that you are speaking to a mind that has been trying to survive. Maybe it has been afraid for a long time. Maybe it has been carrying old wounds. Maybe it has been trained by criticism. Maybe it has been exhausted by worry. Maybe it has forgotten what peace feels like. Do not punish it for that. Teach it, comfort it, guide it, train it, give it better words. Give it safer thoughts. Give it patience. Give it the kind of inner environment where healing becomes possible. You may not become peaceful overnight. You may still have old reactions. You may still have difficult thoughts. You may still have days when the harsh voice returns. But every time it returns, you can practice again. You can say, "I see this old pattern. I will not hate myself for it. I will guide myself back. This is the path. Not perfect peace, but returning to peace. Not perfect kindness, but returning to kindness. Not perfect awareness, but returning to awareness. Not perfect healing, but returning to healing." Again and again you return, and every return matters. Your mind believes what you tell it, so tell it. "You are safe with me now." Tell it. "I will not attack you for being afraid." Tell it. "I will not shame you for being human." Tell it. "I will help you grow." Tell it. "We can learn a new way." These words may sound simple, but they can change the deepest parts of you, because the mind that once expected punishment begins to experience patience. The heart that once expected criticism begins to experience compassion. The wounded parts of you that once hid in fear begin to feel seen, and when something inside you feels seen, it begins to heal. So become gentle with the mind that has been trying to survive. It has carried you through every difficult season. It has stayed with you through every dark moment. It has tried to protect you, even when it did not know the best way. Now it needs your wisdom. Now it needs your compassion. Now it needs your patience. Now it needs you to stop talking down to it and start guiding it home. Because you cannot hate yourself into peace. You cannot shame yourself into healing. You cannot punish yourself into awakening. But you can become aware. You can become kind. You can become disciplined with compassion. You can become the voice that helps your mind finally rest. And when you do, you will begin to understand that healing was never about becoming someone else. It was about learning to meet yourself with enough gentleness that the real you could finally breathe again. Your mind believes what you tell it, so be careful with the words you repeat inside yourself. If you keep speaking fear, your mind will begin to live in fear. If you keep speaking shame, your heart will begin to carry shame. If you keep saying, "I am not enough," your mind will start looking for proof that you are not enough. But if you begin speaking with wisdom, compassion and patience, your mind can slowly learn a new way. Buddhism teaches that the mind is not fixed forever. It can be trained, it can be healed, it can be guided back to peace. The same mind that once repeated self-hatred can learn self-kindness. The same mind that once believed every fearful thought can learn awareness. The same heart that once felt heavy can learn how to breathe again. So stop talking down to yourself. Do not use your own voice to make your wounds deeper. Do not turn one mistake into your whole identity. Do not let old pain write every sentence in your mind. You have already faced enough difficulty from the world. Do not become another source of suffering for yourself. Speak to yourself like someone you want to heal. Speak like someone you want to protect. Speak like someone you believe can grow. When your mind says, "I am broken," answer, "I am healing." When your mind says, "I always fail," answer, "I am learning." When your mind says, "Nothing will change," answer, "Change begins with one small step." When your mind says, "I am not enough," answer, "I am still becoming and I am worthy of peace." These words may not change everything in one day, but they will begin to change the direction of your mind. And when the direction of your mind changes, the direction of your life begins to change too. Remember, peace is not created by never having negative thoughts. Peace is created when you stop believing every negative thought. Healing is not created by pretending pain does not exist. Healing begins when you stop using pain as proof that you are hopeless. So from today, become aware of your inner voice. Notice what you are repeating. Notice what you are feeding. Notice what story you are telling your mind. Then gently choose better words. Choose words that heal. Choose words that guide. Choose words that give you strength. Choose words that help your future self rise. Because your mind is always listening. And if you keep telling it words of peace, wisdom, courage, and compassion, one day those words will become familiar. One day your inner voice will no longer feel like an enemy. One day your mind will become a place of refuge. And that is when you will understand the truth. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you live with yourself. So speak gently. Speak wisely, speak with compassion, and never forget, you are not your harshest thought. You are the awareness that can choose a better one.